Okay, two rams cannot drink from the same bucket at the same time, else they will lock horns. Two rams cannot drink from the same bucket at the same time because they will definitely lock horns. Whereas a liar takes 1,000 years to go on a journey, the one who speaks the truth follows and overtakes the liar in just a day. Whereas a liar takes 1,000 years to go on a journey, the one who speaks the truth follows and overtakes the liar in just a day. And if the rhythm of the drum beat changes, the dance steps must adapt. Now, the dance steps must adapt if the rhythm of the drum beat changes. So this is African Cocktail, the 57th edition. Welcome on board. Okay, good afternoon to listeners of African Cocktail in Bali. Bali is one of the major towns in the northwest region of Cameroon. If you are listening to the show in Kumasi, second biggest city in Ghana after Accra, we say good afternoon. Then to you listening to us from Windhoek, that is in Namibia, we say good afternoon. What about you listening to us in Boaké, that is in Ivory Coast, we simply say in French, bon après-midi. And to you listening to the show in Kinshasa, that is the capital of the DRC, we say good afternoon. Good morning to you in Minnesota, that is here in the United States of America. Same to you in Maryland, and to you listening to us in Garoua, Cameroon, we say good afternoon. What about you listening to the show in Johannesburg, South Africa, we say good afternoon. Then to you listening to African Cocktail in Akron, that is in Ohio, we say good morning. Then good afternoon to you listening to the show in Cairo, the capital of Egypt. We are in North Africa. And to you listening to African Cocktail in the west part of Italy, we simply say Italia, buongiorno. What about you listening to African Cocktail in Besançon, France? We say bon après-midi. And to you in Essen, Germany, guten Tag. What about you listening to the show in Dodoma, that is the capital of Tanzania? We say good afternoon. Then good afternoon to you listening to African Cocktail in Luanda, that is in Angola. And to you in Lusaka, Zambia, we say good afternoon. And to you listening to the show in Lilongwe, Malawi, we say good afternoon. What about you listening to African Cocktail in Lagos, Abuja, and of course Ibadan, that is in Nigeria, we say good afternoon. And to you listening to African Cocktail in Tokyo, Japan, we say good evening. What about you listening to the show in Nairobi, Kenya? Good afternoon. Good afternoon to you listening to African Cocktail in Harare, Zimbabwe. And to you in San Francisco, California, USA, we say good morning. And to you in Peking, China, we say good evening. To you listening to the show in St. Petersburg, Russia, we say good afternoon. And to you in Sydney, Australia, we say good evening. What about you listening to the show in Miami, that is in Niger, we say good afternoon. Then to you listening to the show here in Columbus, Ohio, we say good morning. Whenever you get this voice every Wednesday at this hour, know that you're listening to African Cocktail. Welcome to the first edition of your darling show for phase 2 of 2014, which is of course the 57th episode since we started the show in May 2013. Just like we say, African Cocktail is a party on radio that brings you all the niceties of the beautiful African continent. So, how much of Africa do you know? How much of Africa do you eat? How much of Africa do you wear? How much of African entertainment news do you get to savor? And most important, how much of African music do you get to listen to or dance to? These are the kind of questions we do well to answer just on African Cocktail. African Cocktail is a mixture of the best values you can ever think of. And in this 57th episode of the show, we get motivational in nature. In the present context of countless socio-economic, political and cultural challenges, it has been established that Africans need more education, and apart from formal sector, this education could just come through other means, including motivational talks. But what is motivational speaking all about? What is a motivational speaker? Who is a motivational speaker? And how have motivational speaking impacted Africans? These and more are some of the questions that will be answered by a motivational speaker himself. Stanley Fongod is an internationally reputed motivational speaker whose skills in the arts have been generally acclaimed. He joins us in this edition of African Cocktail as main guest, so don't go away. You are the salt and the light of the world. So goes the theme of the 3-day revival program, coined to bring out the power of women in Christendom. The program built for the city of Columbus is in Ohio, of course. It is expected to bring together Christians and in and around the city of Columbus to experience God's power. And this program runs from Friday, July the 25th to Sunday, the 27th of July. Organized by the Columbus Faithful Baptist Church, speakers at the program will basically be women. Two of them join me in the studio to throw more light on the upcoming revival program. They will be right here with me in the studio, so don't go away. Now, the newest Cameroonian gospel artist falls in love with Christ in her maiden single released less than 72 hours ago. Her name is Lady Bay, and the title of the track is I'm in Love. Reactions to the 5 minutes 13 second single released this Monday have been streaming in. Then, African Cocktail goes beyond to find out what this new latest track is all about and how it got produced. Lady B comes on board right ahead in this edition of African Cocktail. She will be speaking from her Maryland, USA base. Naya is the title of an African TV series that is at the verge of being shot in Germany. The gigantic product has kicked off with the preliminary phase of auditioning, and we hear scores of actors are showing interest in taking part. But its producers tell us the final cast will be announced in September this year. But what is Naya all about? Where do they intend to take this big project to? Westlake Nance is a Cameroonian filmmaker in Germany and the producer-director of the upcoming series. He gives us details in this edition of the show. Plus, which country in Africa is the best to do business in? That is the big question, but find out the answer when our South African correspondent Solomon Atta files in from Cape Town, just right ahead in this edition of African Cocktail Soaps. Okay, meantime, our regular slot, the Belgium report with Title Spaniel, the Central African report with Ifana Polar, and Crystal Beauty's African Tele Review will be yours in this edition of African Cocktail. But I'm not in this sumptuous 1110 studio of Africa, which is situated at the northern part of the city of Columbus alone. I'm joined here by two of my studio guests, whom I'm going to welcome in this edition of African Cocktail, beginning from my extreme left. I have this good-looking gentleman who is definitely going to be my studio guest today. His name is Stanley Fongod. Stanley Fongod, like I said in the intro, is a motivational speaker, which means that we're going to go motivational in this edition of African Cocktail. At exactly 13 minutes to 11, time for me to welcome my studio guest. Stanley, you're welcome to African Cocktail.
Thank you so much, Ernest. I'm really excited to be here. I mean, there is no way to describe just the kind of feeling I'm having right now. And it is my utmost desire that before this program runs out, somebody will have the mindset to be all that God has created them to be. That out of them will be birthed out the desires that God has placed on the inside of them, that their intensity, their energy in their environment will be known. I'm hoping that somebody will be able to stand out of the crowd and be uniquely them, uniquely pleased by life to be all that they can be. That's my vision.
Somebody is definitely going to stand out of the crowd today and be uniquely placed to do what God sent him to do here on earth. Stanley Fongod. Fongod sounds Bali. And when we talk Bali, we talk Mungaka. So, I understand a little bit of Mungaka. I'm aware.
I'm funny, but
right, so Mungaka is the language spoken by the people of Bali. Bali is situated in the northwest region of Cameroon. We are in Central Africa. Next to Stanley is a young and dynamic looking lady. Her name, Vida Kankam. Vida, you're welcome to African Cocktail.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm very honored to be here. I'm here to help advertise this church and a wonderful program on the way for us, the Christians.
Go ahead, Vida.
To come out and identify ourselves as salt and the light of this world. In this world of sinful attitude and everything, the Bible urges us to stand out as the salt and the light. And I want to remind you that as a Christian, you don't forget that role as a salt and the light.
As a Christian, you don't forget that role as a salt and the light. Vida is one of the members of the women's ministry of the Faithway Baptist Church here in the city of Columbus. And like I said in the intro, they'll be running a 3-day revival program come next week. Vida Kankam. Ghanaian?
Yes.
Ashanti, the other part.
Ashanti.
Ashanti, is it the AKC, something like that?
Yes.
Well, I'm trying to learn how to speak many other African languages because I'm generally African in nature. So, gentlemen and lady, you are welcome to the studio. It's true that Vida may be leaving us in the course of the show, but I'll stay with Stanley throughout this edition of African Cocktail. Stanley is the main guest in this 57th episode of the show. And of course, my name is Ernest Kanjo, regular guest of the show, asking you to sit back, relax, and of course, enjoy every bit of what We shall be presenting this bright Wednesday afternoon or Wednesday morning in the city of Columbus. So whenever you feel inspired and you think that you have questions for our studio guests, don't just hesitate. Just press your fingers on 614987 5097 and you'll be live on the air African Cocktail. And then Stanley will be able to provide the answer to your question. But then, gentlemen and ladies, we usually begin this show by thanking God, because it is thanks to Him that this show has covered a great distance. And if He says it's not happening, it's definitely not happening. So at this point in time, we are going to ask whoever is listening to the show, wherever you are around the globe listening, just bow down your heads. Let's say thank you, God, for the moment. And we're going to do that especially with this beat of, or these bars of gospel music by Sinach. I know who I am. Father, in the name of your Son Jesus Christ, we want to praise your name. Most High God, you are the creator of everything, even the ones we think we have created. Father, you are the master, the voice, the great mind, the initiator and the pilot of this show. We are only humans created in your image and assigned to do it in the honor of your name and greatness. Father, make this show an avenue for good and positive things. If it can provide the answer to somebody's question, Lord, let it be. If this show can propel somebody to the reality of their dreams, Father, let it happen. We only pray for the energy, wisdom and breath to be able to continue doing it. Thanks for your endless goodness and your grace. Bless everyone listening today in the mighty name of your Son, Jesus Christ. We have prayed. Amen. I know who I am, Sinaj, there in that beautiful gospel piece coming to you from Africa region. Of course, the show is African Cocktail, the 57th edition, coming to you from Africa Radio this day, July the 16th, 2014. And for those of you just joining us, you are in the right place. Thanks so much, and we hope to give you the best today. The best because virtually everyone who is speaking on this show has the best mind. We have a motivational speaker in the name of Stanley Fongod, who will be the main guest in this edition of African Cocktail. And as we promised, he is definitely going to impact somebody's life today. If at the end of the show, your life changes just from what Stanley would have said, then so be it. We also have two dynamic ladies here in the studio who will be talking about a revival program in one of the Christian churches here in the city of Columbus. And they are right here in the studio. We have Vida, we have Augustina. Then we also have lots and lots of guests who will be speaking, away from the city of Columbus where African Cocktail is being broadcast. We shall have Lady Bay. Lady Bay is a young African gospel artist whose maiden album hit the airwaves less than 72 hours. She will be telling us about I'm in Love just right ahead in this edition of African Cocktail. She will be speaking from Maryland, just like Hansel Ngwane, a Cameroonian comedian who shall be telling us about the good, the bad, the funny. He will be speaking from Boya, Cameroon. Then when we go down south, we shall be talking with Solomon Atta in Cape Town. And Solomon promised us that he will be telling us about some of the best countries to do business in Africa. That will be in the South-South Connect package. Then we shall also move over to Germany, precisely in the city of Essen, where Westlake Nance, an African filmmaker, will be telling us about an upcoming series just right ahead in this edition of African Cocktail. Titus Banya will be filing in from Belgium, just like Ifana will be reporting from Douala, Cameroon. That is the city situated at the banks of the famous river Wuri. I'm joined here by MJ Raw, one of us here on Africa Radio. You shall soon hear his voice. So, at exactly 11 o'clock, here comes the 57th edition of African Cocktail. And as usual, we are going to kick off with our first slot, which is what we describe the telling track. The telling track is that piece of music which has a message. And wherever you are listening to it, you are not expected to dance. You may be a very good dancer, but at this point in time, we don't want you to dance. We want you to set your ears wide open and listen to the message the music is going to send across. And at the end of it, if you feel that it has had an impact in you, it has made a meaning in you, just dial 614-987-5097 and you'll be live here telling us about it. So, without much ado, let's have this one. It is titled Main dans la main. Chaya Pierre. Okay, no, Pierre Chana is his name. So listen to it.
Peuple africain, je te confie un secret. Pour mieux construire notre continent, c'est dans l'entente et le dialogue. Il est inutile de croire que la manne viendra du ciel, car tout dépend de nous pour la prospérité de l'Afrique. Oui, mes chers frères, mieux vaut tard que jamais. Si nous voulons aller plus loin, conjuguons tous bien nos efforts. Donnons-nous la main, puisque dans l'unité tout est possible. Au nom de nos enfants, faisons la paix en Afrique. C'est dans l'entente et le dialogue. Il est inutile de croire que la manne viendra du ciel, car tout dépend de nous pour la prospérité de l'Afrique. Oui, mes chers frères, mieux vaut tard que jamais. Si nous voulons aller plus loin, conjuguons tous bien nos efforts. Donnons-nous la main, puisque dans l'unité tout est possible. Au nom de nos enfants, faisons la paix en Afrique. Du Cameroun au Zimbabwe, tenons-nous main dans la main. De Tanzanie en Algérie, tenons-nous main dans la main. Du Bénin au Burundi, tenons-nous main dans la main. Du Kenya au Gabon, tenons-nous main dans la main. De Guinée au Mozambique, tenons-nous dans la main. Du Rwanda en Tunisie, tenons-nous main dans la main. Du Ghana au Centrafrique, tenons-nous main dans la main. De Malawi en Côte d'Ivoire, tenons-nous main dans la main. Du Maroc au Nigeria, tenons-nous main dans la main. Du Togo au Congo, tenons-nous main dans la main. De Mauritanie au Sénégal, tenez-vous main dans la main. De l'Égypte en Angola, tenons-nous main dans la main. De Zambie au Zaïre, tenons-nous main dans la main. De Libye en Guinée-Équatoriale, tenons-nous main dans la main. d'Éthiopie en Namibie, tenons-nous main dans la main. Du Niger en Sierra Leone, tenons-nous main dans la main. Du Soudan au Libéria, tenons-nous main dans la main. De Gambie au Lesotho, tenons-nous main dans la main. Du Cap-Vert à l'Ouganda, tenons-nous main dans la main. Du Tchad au Botswana, tenons-nous main dans la main. De l'île Maurice en Guinée-Bissau, tenons-nous main dans la main. Toute l'Afrique, main dans la main. Tenons-nous main dans la main. Yeah!
Kede Quality Auto Services. Joe Boy, Jajun Jeno, Chroma Stressi, and Ajun Sano, Sakana Problema, Swakoma Quality Auto Services. Who the answer with the kind of Bemao, Uni how crab, say oil change, tune ups, engine repairs and replacement, and not tire changes, or better than cast your car beddings onto Quality Auto Services. Now best smiling. Quality Auto Services, our 5599 Westerville Road, Westerville, Ohio 43081. Phone number 614-446-0773. Obie Amapanon Crow, Akopima Numrenon, so 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Quality Auto Services, best smiling.
Okay, that was Chana Pierre in that beautiful one. But then I'm quite convinced that the message went through. If it did, okay, you can call us at 614-987-5097 and tell us. But then we simply say in French, sans commentaire, no comment. Okay, in a few seconds we shall be welcoming the main guest in this edition of African Cocktail. Remember, we are doing the 57th episode, and the show is African Cocktail, coming to you from Africa Radio. It's almost a full studio here with guests who will be talking in their various capacities. And for those of you who have just joined us, we want to say thank you so much. Lots and lots of interesting things coming up right ahead in this edition. Let's listen to some music while we introduce our main guest in this edition of African Cocktail. All right, let's ride on with Mary Mandy in this beautiful one. She is Cameroonian. And of course, you're going to love this one.
Yeke baba sani ebukati babangi yalatio. Yeke monyunga sani ebukati na maku yalatio. Yeke monyunga sani ebukati na maku yalatio.
Okay, he's an oral artist par excellence. I'll put it that way because he's a fine speaker, and when he speaks, then he creates impact. He's one of those young people who have the ability, the capacity, and of course the ingenuity to change people's lives. He has moved across the world talking to people, and of course wherever he goes to, then he leaves an impact. His name is Stanley Fongod. Stanley Fongod is the main guest in this 57th episode of African Cocktail. We are privileged to have him in the studio of Africa Radio this day, July the 16th, 2014. And at exactly 8 minutes past 11, time for us to welcome our main guest officially in this edition of African Cocktail. So, Stanley, once again, you're welcome.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
So, Stanley, this morning I was talking to somebody and I mentioned you, and he was like, that is the man. That guy is a fine speaker, and I haven't known somebody like that for quite a while. He actually gave so many positive qualities, and I said, well, I have him in studio this morning and he's going to confirm all of that. But do you recognize what this guy said about you, that you are just so brilliant and you are just so meticulous when you speak?
I really do believe that it's not just so much how powerful I am. I think that I've had a lot of great mentors, and so my whole entire life has been based upon the people that I have learned from. So it's not about me at all. It's just that I'm a good listener, and frankly speaking, I'm pushed beyond measure to be all that I can be. I refuse to be average.
You just made mention of being a good listener, and someone also said to be a good speaker, you have to first of all be able to listen. How does that work? When you does it mean that when you listen well, I mean you are able to talk well?
No, the reason is because you have to spend a lot of time trying to be able to ascertain what is it that you're hearing, so that you can become have a rational balance in terms of your approach, and then you can give a coherent set of answers when it comes to you responding to whatever it is that you're listening to. You can be someone who is fast, quick, and you're always trying to say something without being able to have a clear-cut understanding as to what is it that you're hearing or as to what is it that you're trying to say. If you spend a lot of time listening, I guarantee you, you'll be quite coherent when you speak.
When you spend a lot of time listening, you'll be quite coherent when you speak. Stanley, our listeners will first of all want to know who you are. Let us know who this great speaker is. Could you just tell us about your background, where you were born, where you grew up? Generally speaking, who is Stanley Fongod?
Well, I was born in Cameroon, and wow, my entire life actually is based upon two things: being the best that I could be. I came from a background, not that impoverished as most people would say. You come from Africa and it's all hell and gloom and all that. My background wasn't that at all. I think that was quite loved. Came up from a very good background, and everything basically was working in my favor. And the truth of the matter is that at a very young age, I actually had this desire to be a speaker, not basically being a motivational speaker. I actually grew up in church, and so I would be teaching the Sunday school, and all of that in the Presbyterian church. But then later on in life, I did realize that we had a whole lot of problems actually in the Christian circle, and more than we could ever imagine, and that even the community and the society at large was basically going, to hell in a handbasket, so to speak. And this is obviously Cameroon's story. This is Africa's story. And if you look at Africa as a whole, if you look at Cameroon, for example, you realize that for the last 30 years, we have had the same president. We have had every single thing assessment, the same, very few changes in both domestic and foreign policy, and nothing has really changed. And so my whole entire idea, what motivated, pushed me to become who I am today, was to find a way to be all that I could be, despite the fact that nothing was changing. And I came out with a great philosophy that life does not change you. You basically have to change life. What happens to you happens to everybody else. It's how you react to what happens to you that matters.
Life does not change you. It is you that changes life. Let me just prop into find out this. People have complained that they don't prosper because of the environment, the physical environment in which they grow. And if that environment becomes really difficult, how can you progress? Because you say you can't change life. Or life can't change you, but you can change life. But then if you're in an environment which is so difficult, and like you just mentioned, a system that has been in place for more than 30 years, and people are unable to change it, so how can they go ahead when they can't just change it?
Well, but the truth of the matter is you have to think about this way, that your income is not determined by your philosophy at all. Your income is not determined by a bank account or the economy, but it's actually determined by your philosophy. Your philosophy is what counts. For example, you're talking about Cameroon. In the last 30 years, we have the same president, few changes in both domestic and foreign policy. But the truth of the matter is that in the last 30 years as well, we have had rich people and poor people in the same economy. So what's the difference? Our philosophy, not the economy, period.
Right. Okay, Stanley, you definitely grew up in Cameroon. Could you just recall some of the great moments you had as a child growing up? Some of those moments you would always love to remember whenever your childhood is mentioned.
Well, I think that for me, I always try to pick up something that I use, especially when I'm speaking. When I was growing up in the little village in Bali, we had a handicraft center. This is where the tourists will come to see what, the handcrafts and all of that great stuff that was happening in Bali. And one of the most things I found, which was quite fascinating, was each time I was there as a young boy and, looking at this white man who come, they would stop at an average Balian. And they'll ask him, do you know where the handicraft center is? And then the boy will absolutely look dazzled, not knowing exactly what they were talking about. He will shuck off his shoulder as if to say, to tell him in the most rudiment form of the English language, which he knew how, to say, I no sabi English. And you know what the tourists would do? The tourists will shout louder, do you know where the handicraft center is? As if to say his volume was going to compensate for the man's illiteracy in the language. And for me, I have always learned, I think one of the fundamental things I've picked out of Cameroon, which I studied back early on, was that volume does not compensate for content. It doesn't matter how much you shout, it doesn't matter how much you scream, volume does not compensate for content. And I think that I have learned that, especially talking to my elders, that if we can have a way in which to communicate, in such a way that we basically try to infuse content more than volume, then life could really be better. That's my African experience.
Right, Stanley, it's true that some people are born good speakers, but I would also want to imagine that formal education can help improve that art in you. Could you just tell us about the formal education you had?
As a matter of fact, let me just say that formal education has nothing at all to do with this. And I think, frankly speaking, when I hear about formal education, I just want to throw up. Formal education in the word from the Latin equator, which means to pull from within. Right. And when you talk about, formal education that has anything to do with it, it's good, it's great, and it's right. For example, someone like me, I came to the United States of America in search of this greener pastures, and I went into computers. And since I was here in 1999, from 1999 to about 2010, I was soaked up in the computer industry. I did every single certification examinations that you can ever imagine. I mean, from all the Microsoft certifications to Cisco certifications, and in the end, it finally dawned on me in 2013 that in 2012 that if you keep doing this, you'll be 60 years old and still trying to write some certification examinations to keep a job. And frankly speaking, you can't at all call that formal education. I think it's just overrated. The truth of the matter is that the best skills a man will ever get in his life is the skills he pulls from within. Self-education, your ability to attend seminars, to go deeper, to be hungry, to desire more, to wish for more, to be all that you can be is all that you really can be. That is education.
That is education. I told you Stanley Fongod is a speaker par excellence, so you're going to get more of that in this edition of African Cocktail, ladies and gentlemen. We have an ingenious young gentleman here in the studio of Africa Radio. And of course, the show is African Cocktail, the 57th edition, coming to you from Africa Radio this day, July the 16th, 2014. Stanley, I'll be right back with you. You are the main guest in this edition of African Cocktail. Time for me to play some music. Then I take on with my next guest here in the studio. Okay, let's go back to Mary Manji in this beautiful one.
Yaka baba sani e bukati baba mi aladio. Yaka monyunga sani e bukati na makuya aladio. Yaka monyunga sani e bukati na makuya aladio. Yaka baba sani e bukati, yaka baba sani e bukati, yaka baba sani e bukati ne. Banyambe badi e bukati ne. Eno pondamba kisema die bukatine. Weno pondamba nyambeba die bukatine. Eno pondamba kisema die bukatine. Ino ponda Kanjan sukani lilungeli we sukani. Kanjan sukani lilungeli we sukani. Kanjan sukani lilungeli we sukani. Mepana kanjani sukani lilungeli miye sukani.
She hails from Lekia Division in the Central region of Cameroon. We are in Central Africa, and her name is Mary Manji. But then Mary Manji grew up in the southwest region of the country. She is a gospel artist, and she is well acclaimed. Beautiful one there titled Naweti Biman by Mary Manji. You're listening to the 57th edition of African Cocktail, coming to you from Africa Radio with Ernest Kanjo and of course Stanley Fongod as main guest. Then we have lots and lots of people who are still going to join us in this edition. Don't forget that we have Solomon Atta, who will be speaking from Johannesburg, South Africa. Oh, is it Cape Town? Well, we're definitely going to find out when Solomon files in. Then we shall go to Douala, Cameroon, precisely at the banks of the River Wuri, where Ifana Kwala will be giving us updates of the happenings in the Central African sub-region this past week. Then we shall also listen to Lady Bay, a gospel artist based in Maryland, on her latest album, not album but single, which she launched less than 72 hours ago, just on African Cocktail. 614-987-5097 and the number to die to get in touch with us if you want your voice heard in this edition of the show.
It's so good. The book of books. I read it in the evening, and when you want to sleep, it's so nice. The book of books. Read it when you are in trouble. It gives peace. It gives joy. It satisfies. Oh yes. There are 66 books of the Bible. Beloved, do you know them? There are 66 books of the Bible. Darling, do you know them? There are 66 books of the Bible. Honey, do you know them? There are 39 books of the Old Testament and 27 books of the New Testament. 39 books of the Old Testament and 27 books of the New Testament. Now, I name them. Now, I name them. These are the names of the books of the Old Testament, beloved. These are the names of the books of the Old Testament, beloved. They are Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges, Ruth, 1 Samuel, 2 Samuel, 1 Kings, 2 Kings, 1 Chronicles, 2 Chronicles, Ezra, Nehemiah, Esther, Job, Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Song of Solomon, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Lamentation, Ezekiel, Daniel, Hosea, Joel, Amos, Obadiah, Jonah, Micah, Nahum, Habakkuk.
And so, what is the role of the Christian woman in our society? How has the African Christian woman progressed in her mission to evangelize the world? And of course, what impact does she have in a society that is fast becoming God-fearing? These are some of the things we'll be discussing with the next guest here in the studio of Africa Radio. There are two of them right here with me from the Faith Way Baptist Church here in the city of Columbus. To my left, I have Vida Kankam, who will be one of the speakers at the upcoming revival program. And of course, I have Augustina Ofori, I guess that is the name. They are all here in the studio, and of course, they are ready to tell us about this upcoming program. And we shall also want to look at how the African woman can contribute through Christianity to the development of this beautiful African continent we all desire to see grow from lips handbound. So, to you, gentle ladies, I want to say welcome to the studio of Africa Radio.
Thank you.
Okay, let me begin with Augustina Ofori, who is just joining us in the studio. Augustina, a while ago I was talking to Vida, and I learned that she is from the Ashanti divide of Ghana. What about you?
Yeah, I'm also from Ashanti. I'm from Ashanti Achim actually, and my mom is from Eastern Nkwetia.
Okay. So do you also speak the Ashanti language?
I speak Twi.
I realized something within the Ghanaian community. They are very good at using their mother tongues, and I think this is a value, even though some think that it is not very, it doesn't really speak well, especially when you are in a fast globalizing world. But I also think our mother tongues should not be neglected. So what do you think about that attitude of Ghanaians always wanting to speak their mother tongue wherever they go to?
Well, I think there's nothing wrong with it. Your mother tongue is your mother tongue, and if you want to communicate to somebody and you want the person to best understand you, you choose what is best, the language that is best to use. Right. And I think if you think that using your mother tongue can explain whatever you want to communicate to the person best, I think go for it. So I go for mother tongues actually, but when it comes to communication, how you want to reach out to your listener, like a presenter, what your scope of listening, that determines the mode of language or whatever type of language you use. So I go for mother tongue, but it depends.
And Augustina, one of the palatable things about this attitude of Ghanaians always speaking their mother tongue is the mastery. They have the mastery of it. They speak it well. I must tell you that there are many Africans who don't speak their mother tongues well. Some don't even speak it at all because they simply don't know how to speak it. But I think if you are able to express yourself in your mother tongue, that too should be something to be proud about. Well, we'll come back to that some other time. We'll find time to talk about that on this show. But then you are here to tell us about the organization of the 3-day revival program under the theme, You Are the Salt and You Are the Light of the world. First, who is this program meant for? Is it just for women or for everybody?
It's for everybody, but the main focus is on women, but it's meant for all.
Okay. And so, what motivated you to come out with this program? Maybe Vida will speak.
Our motivation comes from the Creator, our God, who encourages us to be disciples of Him all over the world. So we are motivated by God that this program should come on, and our purpose is to make sure we empty hell and fill heaven. So that is our motivation as women. What can we do to help achieve that?
Right.
To empty hell and fill heaven.
Now, at times I ask people to tell me what motivated them to do whatever they're doing, simply because I always take it from the premise of something not going on well and prompting whatever thing you're coming up with. Do you think that women are kind of forgetting that they are the salt and the light of the world, and that is why you think they should be reminded?
No women alone. As we said, that our targeted audience is for both men and women.
Right.
As Christians, and even in this secular world, if you are working, there's in-service training to, kind of remind you of things that you're supposed to do. And we feel this is the time we have to remind ourselves. Sometimes we take things for granted, and we feel this is an opportunity to remind ourselves that in this contemporary world, we still have to stand out as the salt and the light.
Now, I turn to you, Augustina. I understand that you have 3 major speakers talking at this revival program. From what angle will each of them be handling this main theme?
Okay, the first day we'll be talking on salt,
right,
and the second day will be the light, and on the third day, that is the climax, the last day, the speaker is going to talk on both salt and light.
Now, before we get there, could you just tell us what the salt would mean biblically, or biblically? Yes, or what salt would mean, what light would mean?
Okay, biblically, we know that everybody knows that salt is a very essential household commodity, and we cannot do without salt. And it preserves, it adds flavor. Even when you are cooking, we women, when we are cooking, and even sometimes the food is not tasty, just a little addition of salt makes it tasty, and you might want to go for more. Without salt, you will not feel the flavor or the tastiness of the food. So we as Christians, we want to remind ourselves that in this world that we are, God has created us to preserve our world, to preserve the earth. So we want to remind ourselves of that.
Okay, I'll come back to you. Let's find out if there's a listener on the line. Is there a caller on the line? Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, good morning. Hello? Okay, we'll definitely come back to that caller. I'm back with you, probably Vida this time. Apart from keynote speaking, what other items will be featuring in the agenda of the program, and in what way will people who attend it be contributing?
Okay, the other things we're going to do will be prayer, to sustain or to maintain your quality as a salt and the light of this world. You need to go into the master manual, which is the Bible. And the Bible encourages us, one of our tools as Christians that we can use to sustain our qualities is to pray. So we're going to pray a lot. We'll spend time on the word, and then we spend time to pray that the good Lord, through the Holy Spirit, will give us the strength to lead that life that he urges us to lead and live as Christians. To maintain your quality as salt is not easy. In this world that we are surrounded by everything that we go through, we want to stand out. We don't want to lose that focus, so we'll be praying in addition to that. Beside that, we also have sketches. We have sketch on the 10 virgins who, some went in with extra oil and others went in just with their light. And it's a reminder that we might all be going to church, but we need to have an extra oil. We consider that extra oil as studying your Bible, praying, so that your light will continuously be burning.
Okay, pray so that your life will continuously be blessed. Her name is Vida Kankam of the Faith Way Baptist Church here in the city of Columbus. They are organizing a 3-day revival program starting from July the 25th to the 27th this year. I'll come back to you, ladies. Time for us to take this, and we'll be right back.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have good news for you as your nutrition specialist. I recommend you eat fresh farm produce that will give you and your family good health, energy, and vitality. I suggest you shop for all your family food products at A Life African Market. Yes, A Life African Market. They sell the best farm produce that will help you and your family live a healthy and energetic life. Shop for all your food products like fufu, yam, rice, meat, chicken, plantain, cassava, and many more. Located at 4384 Cleveland Avenue. Again, 4384 Cleveland Avenue. A-Life. Eat fresh. Spend less.
Okay, we are back here with our guests in the studio, and let me come to you, Augustina. What impact does the women's ministry of your church expect to create on the people who are going to come to this program?
Okay, we want to remind all, especially women, that we have the beauty, the charm, the intelligence, the creativity to influence our world. And if we are influencing our world, we have to influence the world positively, right. Loving, sharing, and all those things to build the kingdom of God.
Okay, we got that. Vida, let me come back to you. You've been part of this women's ministry for a while now. Could you just tell us a little bit about it? When was it created? What is its mission, and how is it structured?
Okay, the church itself is a young church. The women's ministry started 4 years ago, which was initiated by the head pastor. Our first president was one of the pastor's wife, Mrs. Jonah, who held the mantle for 2 years, and then after the 2 years there was election. Another lady, Deaconess Evelyn, took the mantle as the president. She was assisted by Juliana Kankam. They held the mantle for 2 years, and now, latter part of last year, new leaders were elected, which I'm the vice president. The president is not here today. Our purpose is to edify the women, to help us physically, spiritually, emotionally, not just in the church, but to have impact at home, as we consider ourselves as salt.
Right.
We know in the home, when you enter a home where there is no woman, you can tell that there's no woman. And we want, as Christian women, to stand out, not just being there as women, but women with unique quality that we can impact not only our husband or our immediate family, but all the people who come into contact with us, and to see that saltiness in our life, that light that Esther showed to help his children from all the plot that was against them. So that is our purpose. Our aim is to strengthen the women physically, spiritually, emotionally, and in every aspect that we can.
So far, would you say that you've achieved something out of all of this you just said? What have you achieved so far?
We have achieved a lot. We have programmed for marriage that in every month we make sure we talk about issues in marriage, what marriage is intended for. We talk about sex, how to be able to, as a woman and a man, we invite both sex and the contribution we can give, so that in this world that sometimes Christian marriage is on the rock, because when it comes to sex, we don't know what to do and what not to do. So we openly talk about what we can do as women and men of God to make sure that aspect is preserved so our marriage can be sustained. Besides that, we talk about cooking, what we can do. Those who can do cooking very well, we encourage other people. We also help the young ones who are marrying. We support them. People are here with no parent, and some of us stands in as their parent. Their mothers help them through their wedding. Beside that, prayers, we support the youth, the church as a whole, in prayer and financially. We do that as well.
Let me come back to you, Augustina. How does your main church support this group, this women's ministry?
Oh, our main church support this ministry full 100%, physically and spiritually, financially, whatever we need, counseling, anything, anytime, especially our pastor and the board of pastors and ministers, everybody they support, they are in full support of this ministry.
Right. And what are you telling the public and potential attendees of this upcoming revival? What are you telling people?
Well, what I'm telling my cherished listeners is that we have to know that, like the moon cannot shine on its own. It depends on the sun to shine. Likewise, we Christians, we need the light of God. We cannot shine on our own. We need the light of God to shine, and we have to know that the light of God is limitless. So everybody has to come for this program in order to ignite ourselves and remind ourselves once again that we have a task to accomplish.
The light of God is limitless. Before we run off this conversation, Vida, could you just remind us of the date, the time, the venue, and of course possible contacts if people want to show up?
Okay, the date once again is next week, Friday in the evening, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Saturday in the evening, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Sunday, 9 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. And the venue will be 2315 South Hamilton Road, Columbus, Ohio. Once again, the venue, 2315 South Hamilton Road, Columbus, Ohio. The contact number, 614-599-155. Once again, 614-599-1555 or 614-282-2806.
Okay, the message has gone through. Thanks so much, ladies. And I also understand that there will be lots and lots of good music, eh?
Yes.
I know young Africans are coming up with so much talent in the church, and they play very good music. And people say the church has become lively thanks to music. So we'll be having much of that, I guess.
Yes.
Okay, so thank you so much, and I wish you the best. I wish you success in the program, and whenever you feel like stopping by and telling us more about your ministry and other programs you would eventually have, don't hesitate. So thank you so much, and be blessed.
Thank
We also thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. God bless you.
Okay, thank you so much, Vida and Augustina. Do have a fantastic Wednesday. And for those of you just joining us, this is African Cocktail, the 57th edition, coming to you from Africa Radio with Ernest Kanjo and, of course, Stanley Fongod as main guest. Lots and lots of other people who will be streaming into this edition of the show. Okay. 614-9750-614-975097 are the numbers to dial to get in touch with us if you want to make your voice heard in this edition of the show. Okay, let's relax in some music, then we'll be back with other things.
Abakade Quality Auto Services. Joe Boy, Judging Jano, Chroma Stressy, and Argentine Sano, Sakana Problema, Fakoma Quality Auto Services. Who the answer with the kind of Bemao, Uni how crab, say your oil change, tune ups, engine repairs and replacement, and not tire changes, or better than cast your car beddings onto Quality Auto Services. Now best smiling. Quality Auto Services, our 5599 Westerville Road, Westerville, Ohio 43081. Phone number 614-446-0773. Obie Amapan on Crow, so 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Quality Auto Services. Obe smile.
I long to you like a child,
Okay, we have now gone Makosa. His name is Misengo Francois. Misengo Francois in that beautiful one titled Yo-Yo 1988. I take it down memory lane. Beautiful music coming to you from African Cocktail, the show every Wednesday that keeps you moving. And of course, moving 11 minutes past, 17 minutes to 12. Right, 17 minutes to 12. And just right ahead, we shall be moving to Cameroon. And of course, in the southwest region, and its headquarters of Boya, where we shall have Hansel Wane, who will be telling us about the good, the bad, the funny, a comedy show that has been creating a great impact online. So we shall be talking to the author of that very beautiful show just right ahead in this edition of African Cocktail. So don't go away.
Ayo, yo,
Okay, Misenko Francois in that beautiful one titled Yo-Yo, a 1988 production. It's coming to you from Africa Radio. And of course, the show is African Cocktail. Like I said, we're going to move on to Boya. Boya, where we have this young Cameroonian comedian who has been holding his audience spellbound in what he dubs the good, the bad, the funny. His name is Ngwane Hansel. Ngwane Hansel is becoming a household name. And at exactly 14 minutes to 12, time for us to move over to Boya, Cameroon, and welcome Ngwane Hansel, who is the next guest in this edition of African Cocktail. And so, if you're listening to us, Hansel, welcome to the 57th edition of African Cocktail. Hello? Hello, Hansel. Okay, we have difficulties getting to Ngwane Hansel, who indicated that he was already on the line, but then we'll go back to him in a couple of seconds. Time for us to listen to this one, and of course, Sabo it. This is African Cocktail coming to you from Africa Radio with Ernest Kanjo. Okay, we stay in the yesteryears with Eme by Baby Black, a beautiful Makosa piece done in the mid-80s. The artist is gone long ago, but then his music plays on.
La force de l'amour. Bandutu baweke yande banyanoe nyame no babobe baka isendemba temba na botinove temona usinove na mapula biya binyolangwa tele abi ende nyolando la pasa otonde nomba okie nomba abi ende nyolando la pasa natonde noa nakie noa. Tabana bampungu mutondi mwanyu mwafuye tabana bapube mbana beninde.
Also coming up in this edition of African Cocktail, we shall be listening to the producer of an upcoming Cameroonian movie which will be shot in the coming weeks in Maryland. Her name is Mercy Ita, and of course the movie is Rejected, and we hear auditioning for the movie has just begun. Messi will be throwing more light on that in this edition of African Cocktail. And if we are fortunate, we should also have actors of Victimized that is being shot in Maryland talking to us live in this edition of African Cocktail. And of course, at exactly 10 minutes to 12, time for us to move back to the main guest in this edition of African Cocktail while we await the call of Ngwane Hansel from Boya. His name is Stanley Fongod. Stanley Fongod is the main guest in this edition of African Cocktail. Stanley, I'm back with you. So just tell us, for how long have you been in the United States of America?
I've been out here for about 15 years now, and it's been wonderful so far.
And I understand you lived in Los Angeles before coming to Columbus. Where else have you lived in this country?
Yeah, by the way, I'm in Columbus visiting, all right?
So okay. Just visiting Columbus. Wow.
Yeah,
we're going to have you stay with us.
Oh, no. Not the snow, man. Come on. I have to be in LA. It is sunny 24/7.
That notwithstanding, African Cocktail is mobile, so we'll definitely meet you in LA one day, and we hope to be part of one of your motivational speaking sessions.
Absolutely.
And so, Stanley, motivational speaking is something which many people just hear about, but many people really don't know the crux of the matter. What is motivational speaking all about?
Motivational speaking or inspirational speaking is the art in which you speak to motivate people to become better. Right. It's a way of pulling the inner resources that each and every one of us is born with, that we can inspire to shine from within, not without. Right. The greatness of a man does not begin from without, it begins from within. If you will have to change, you cannot change without, you must change from within. When you change within, the effects of what we see without is as a result of what has taken place already within. And it is my job to make sure that I inspire you to begin the change process from within.
Now, you create the impression that motivational speaking is for people, or destined for people who need something, who need changes in their life. And I'm going to ask the question, what about people who think that they have achieved, they have arrived, they don't need any change in their life? Do they too need to be spoken to?
As a matter of fact, there's no one in this planet, if I don't care who you are, that will basically say I've achieved. I don't care how much money you have, because the truth of the matter is that we get confused between fulfillments and achievements. Right. There are people who get achievement based upon what they have done. You get a degree, you achieve something, you went to school for that. But there's something called fulfillment. This comes as a result of who you are. That's why you have some guys in Hollywood, $50 million in the bank account, jump off a bridge because they have no meaning for living. And you asking me, how can someone be so rich and then so poor with the contents of their own very heart? The truth of the matter is this: everybody needs to be motivated. I don't care where you take me, put me in a nursery school where there's some little kids crying. I'm going to tell them you can become all that you can be, because I believe sincerely that everybody needs to awaken that giant within.
Now, I'm going to prop in because he just made mention of someone who is so rich, yet he becomes suicidal. Now, there's this school of thought that money does everything, and that if you have money, you have everything. So why should somebody get to the top of a building, jump down, and die when he's rich, when he has money?
Because he doesn't understand purpose. Purpose is the reason for which we came. It is the reason why we are here. May I just help you, for example? Let me paint you this picture. Right. Think about this for a second. Out of 250 million sperm cells, 250 million sperm cells in the lower count, you made it. You beat every other spermatozoa to make it to the egg. And then for you to be born onto this dimension. I don't believe in a minute that the only reason why you came here was to make money. The only reason why you came here was to look good. I sincerely believe that you came to contribute in this dimension to motivate and build the lives of others. The reason why you were born have nothing to do with you, but it has everything to do with others. So if you overcame 250 million sperm cells, I guarantee you that you will not think about jumping or flying off a building or off a bridge, to your death, because purpose is calling you.
So apparently you are saying that you being born was not a mistake.
No, absolutely not. I mean, you being born absolutely was designed.
Okay, Stanley, we'll come back to you. It looks like we have Hansel Ngwane calling from Boya. Hansel, if you are there, welcome to African Cocktail.
Oh, thank you. Finally.
Finally, I understand. So, Hansel, how is Boya today?
I'm okay. Just that the country is good, but I'm still funny.
The country is still funny. So you say. Wow, Hansel.
Yes.
So, Hansel, we're talking about the good, the bad, the funny, and this show has undoubtedly become one of the most appreciated, at least in the past couple of months, within the Cameroon English-speaking community. Now, tell us, why would you call a show the good, the bad, the funny?
Well, it's a name, the good, the bad, the ugly. But rather than things being good, bad, and ugly, it should rather be good and bad, and in the end, you try to find out the funny side of it all. That's all.
So, when precisely did you spring up with this idea, and what was your motivation?
Well, it's been in the drawing boards for 2 years now, and my motivation has been the fact that intellectual comedy in English-speaking Cameroon has been dormant for quite a long time now. So that motivated me to bring up something that is new, but impressive, genuine, and original.
I understand the items you have on the show are kind of picked around as news items, but done in a very satirical manner. So what do you consider when you select stories to have them satirized on the good, the bad, the funny?
stem up from current events and happenings around us, and I have to keep in mind the frame of reference for the audience. I can't say something that they don't understand.
Now, I've been going through some episodes of the show, and I find them really good in terms of quality. So, what takes you to come out with such good images? And could you just tell us how you go along with the shooting, the editing, and even the post-production process of this very brilliant show?
Okay, yes. Not want to call names, but my company does that. But I think everything has to do with teamwork. You can't do everything alone. I have a good director, I have a good cameraman, I have a good editor, and I am a good presenter. So it takes teamwork. That's the first thing, and motivation and dedication.
Right. And how regular should we have this show online?
It's twice a month. It's a bi-monthly program for now. But by the end of this year, I will be making it a weekly program.
Right. So, who are some of the people you work with? You just made mention of the cameraman and the editor. So, who are these people?
Yes, I work with the director and editor is Ernest Kanjo of Zumo Studio Works. The cameraman is Frederick Discard, Zumo Studio Works, and the light technician is Lawrence. Lawrence.
Right. So, Hansel, so far from observation, you mostly talk about people paying less attention to events. How do some of these people you satirize take the jokes, and have some of them contacted you? And what do they tell you, when they contact you about something either said about them or satirized about them? Okay, sorry about that. We're definitely going to come back to Hansel Ngwane. We lost him. Well, it's a great distance moving across oceans, but then we will make it, we are determined. Okay, let me come back to my studio guest, Stanley. Stanley, Hansel just said something which pricked my mind. He said he succeeds to have that show the way it is because of teamwork. Do you believe in teamwork? How powerful is teamwork vis-a-vis success?
As a matter of fact, that's one of the things I actually do teach, and especially when I'm dealing with a business or I'm talking to a company, one of the things that I push for is actually teamwork. And the reason is because you can get a whole lot more done when you have people working together than when you have people dysfunctional working in a particular group. Once there's teamwork, when people have that sense of unity and responsibility within a particular group, then you can achieve a lot. So I actually appreciate that.
On the other hand, some people hold that when you work with so many people, you have so many problems.
Well, the truth of the matter is that when you talk about working with so many people and having so many problems, you need to be able to examine he who is making that statement. Does that include him or exclude him?
Okay. Well, okay, we'll find time to come back to that, Stanley. Now, Stanley, tell me, motivational speaking, is it a skill acquired or you learn it?
Well, I get that question almost every single time. Someone is asking me, I'm a motivational speaker. As a matter of fact, I don't know what that means, literally. Someone's a motivational speaker. A motivational speaker, I mean, the only it's not like a career. It's not one of those things, motivational speaking is something that you do. But you need to be an expert in something. And then to communicate that effectively to people, you have to inspire them. You have to motivate them based upon what you know.
Right.
So it's
everybody can be a motivational speaker.
Everybody can. I mean, are you kidding? My mom is the best motivational speaker that there is.
Right. Okay, that's interesting. So, where can inspirational speaking be done, and which one do you consider to be the most effective? Is it in seminars, in conferences, in the classroom, on television, on radio? Just where do you think this art can be best performed with effectiveness?
Are you saying that as to me being a speaker or to the people I'm speaking to?
Well, let's situate the physical environment, or even the kind of people you're talking to.
Okay, well, if the kind of people, I always do love to have the crowd. I think that it does something to me. It pushes me to go beyond the confines of my own limited ability, to be able to inspire something outside of myself. But as to me as an individual, you're going to ask me, where can I get motivated? I think that the best thing that ever happens to me is every morning that I stand before a mirror, because each morning when I look at the mirror, I'm seeing the best thing that God ever created. I'm seeing something that has never existed prior to me, and something that will never exist when I get out of this place, when I exit. So the best form of motivation for me is within. It's for me to be able to speak to myself. But then if I'm going to be in a group of, in the conference or something, I think that the crowds really pull it for me.
So, according to you, who is a fine speaker? Who is an inspirational speaker whom people can admire?
Well, one that has a special message. I think that someone that has a special message should be able to, that's the person I consider to be great. And then first of all, every other speaker also needs a mentor. I think that you need to be able to be, to have someone that you aspire to be like.
Right.
And then you have to basically polish also your public skills. I mean, I never grew up speaking the English language. I'm learning the best way I can. I know I make a whole lot of mistakes, but the truth of the matter is that I will do whatever it takes to be better.
Taking whatever it is to take to be better. Okay, that's a beautiful one there. We are thankful we have Stanley in the studio today. Ladies and gentlemen, this is African Cocktail coming to you from Africa Radio. Stanley, I'll be right back with you. Bet looks like we'll be going to Cape Town, South Africa soon. Okay, don't go away.
Les poissons aiment l'eau, les oiseaux aiment l'air, mais moi je t'aime.
Belle chanson sortie dans les années 80 au Cameroun. Oui, c'est Bébé Black. L'artiste ne vit plus, mais sa musique continue à jouer. Beautiful Makosa Fees. This is African Cocktail coming to you from Africa Radio. And of course, the show is the one you would love to listen to every Wednesday at exactly 4 minutes past 12. Let's move down south to find out what has been going on in that Africa's most industrialized country. We're talking about South Africa. Is Solomon Atta in Cape Town today? Is he in Johannesburg? Okay, let's find out from our man. Solomon, you're welcome to African Cocktail.
Thank you very much, Ernest, and thank you and welcome for your listeners to Johannesburg, the city of gold, where the sun has just gone under the horizon. The time is just about 5 minutes after 6 o'clock local time. And there's 2 bits of news before we get into the top 10 best ease of doing business countries in Africa. First is that on a sad note, a Nobel laureate winner for literature in 1991, Nadine Udine, passed away at the age of 90. That was just 3 days ago, so tributes continue to pour in. And news just reaching us is that 22 people who passengers are hurt when an SAA flight, which is our national carrier in South Africa, encountered very what is considered severe turbulence en route to Hong Kong. So, and just 2 bits of news, but let me just get into our main topic for today. Africa, home to 1.1 billion people, 30% of whom are under the age of 35. The future of the continent is looking bright. As more and more youth attain higher education, there is a new degree of hope for the continent. The performances of the economies are central to the way in which Africa charts its future. This week and in the following report, I look at some of the continent's high performers with regards to the ease of doing business. These are the countries whose economies are attractive to investors, and there are those that are shifting into gear to attract more businesses to their shores. This week in Brazil, as the BRICS summit sits, there are talks that they will be launching what is known as the BRICS Development Bank, and the city of Johannesburg is building to headquarter that bank. If that happens, this will add a lot of economic weight to the continent and bolster efforts to host what could be seen as the largest development bank in these emerging economies and in the developing world. And several other releasing reports on the best place to invest or to do business. These reports become indicators and some kind of peer review mechanism which encourages countries lagging behind to keep up, so that as a collective, the continent can move forward. So, Ernest, without much ado, let's move into it. Kenya starts our countdown at number 10. Kenya is known for as a center for the development and deployment of several web and mobile-based applications. It is also famed as the best place to store startups in the continent. In recent months and years, even which Kenya has been rocked by a series of attacks in the face, and many and scores of people have been killed. Despite all of this, the Kenyan people have demonstrated resilience in the face of all these setbacks. Kenya is also the center of East African trade and economic powerhouse in that region. At number 9 is Uganda. Uganda is another East African country which has been able to assist in conflict in both Somalia and recently in South Sudan. Uganda has been able to reduce and clarify mortgage rules, among other red tape obstacles, to ease the way of doing business in that country. Number 8 is Zambia, the country that has part of the Victoria Falls road to her country. Known as the copper headquarters of Africa, their number 8 spot is envious to those countries that do not make the top 10. There is transparency and courtesy in doing business transactions, something that is on short supply on the continent. At number 7 is Namibia. It can be said that Namibia's aid is partly due to similar infrastructure left in place by the South African colonizers in 1990. But their active citizenship has been remarkable, working to meet the stringent country criteria, and the rating agencies is aptly recognized. Number 6 is an Indian island ocean of seashells. This is a tiny island ocean which has risen to the ranks and crashed out of the pores of this determination. It has over the years become a booming destination for tourists. Research has shown that some of the tourists become investors. The seashells have mined to a rewarding end. And now we're going to dip down into the top 5 spots. Here I'll let the listeners know that there are 2 countries at number 2. Several research placed these 2 countries neck and neck, and there was no deal breaker vote like you have in Congress in the United States. So let's get into it. And coming in at number 5 is Ghana. Ghana has benefited from democracy since the last term of former President J.J. Rawlings. Since then, there have been leaders who have been bent on continued enshrinement of the rule of law and the separation of institutional power. But this has turned out to be a lure for FDI and has contributed to a steady growth in the ease of doing business in Ghana. The Ghanaian economy has seen positive outlooks year in, year out. At number 4 is Botswana. As a landlocked country and the border with South Africa, there are efforts to reduce time at the border post for goods in and out of Botswana has greatly contributed to the country taking up the 4th position. Botswana has also a strong democratic institutions, which are key factors in developing economies. At number 3, as indicated, there are 2 countries, Tunisia and Rwanda. Let's start with Tunisia. Despite being widely accredited as the birthplace of what is now widely known as the birthplace of the Arab Spring, Tunisia has moved fast to institutionalize the ease of starting and doing business. This has raised the economy's profile and continue to attract FDI and other opportunities that lend themselves to business and economic growth. Then there is Rwanda, the miracle of some sorts. After suffering the worst humanitarian atrocity 20 years ago when 800,000 people were slaughtered within 3 months, Rwanda has risen to be one of the best places to start a business in the world. It has also gained a reputation as the best country in Africa with the widest broadband penetration. And as this country commemorates 20 years of the South epoch of the genocide, it strides forward with their heads held high, and many are lifted from poverty. But more importantly, creating and providing an opportunity for a flourishing business opportunity in that country. And number 2 is Africa's most industrialized country, South Africa. South Africa was, until the rebasing of Nigeria's economy in April, the number 1 economy in Africa, seen by many and the world to still attract the most FDI in the continent. It failed 1 place short to capture the top spot. South Africa can boast some of the best business-friendly infrastructure on the continent and considered as a middle-tier country. Yet, when it comes to the ease of doing business in the continent, we are just 1 place shy. All said, South Africa remains a top favorite for Africa's inbound investors. And to crown the ease of doing business on the continent, and the crown that all of us have been waiting for, this crown goes to the number 1 spot, Mauritius. Another small Indian Ocean country, Mauritius has stubbornly stayed at the top of ease of doing business index for more than 2 years and continues to improve her system, making it easy to turn years a day most visitors and tourists into investors. Primarily a tourist-prone country with a beautiful and sparkling beaches, Mauritius has maintained some of the best business practices in the continent. 5 years ago, it took 210 days to get a property registered in your name. In Mauritius, today it takes 15 days. There you have it, Ernest. Next week I shall be talking to you about what I call the sleeping giants of Africa's economy. I'm Solomon Atta for South-South Connect in Johannesburg.
Solomon Atta, South-South Connect from Johannesburg. Solomon, let me just say sans commentaire. Well, a beautiful one, of course, and we hope to have you again next week for yet another edition of South Connect. Solomon, you are always very rich in content. Thank you so much, and I hope to have you again next week. This is African Cocktail Day, 57th edition, coming to you from Africa Region, of course. We will be moving to Maryland just right ahead in this edition of the show, where Lady Bay will be telling us about I'm in Love, her maiden single, which hit the airwaves a couple of hours ago. Then we still hope to have the cables of Titus Banyo reporting from Belgium, and of course Westlake Nance, a Cameroonian filmmaker in Germany who is at the verge of getting to a film location to start the production of a TV series. Okay, let's listen to some music, then we'll be right back. Are you listening to that fine piece of Makossa done in the 90s? His name is Hogan Kwala. You're listening to African Cocktail, 15 minutes past 12. It's time for us to prepare the ground for the next guest in this edition of African Cocktail. So don't go away. Lots and lots of interesting items are still in the pipeline in this edition of the show.
La materi, sigite jina mi wele mongo sobongoye. Mama o sengala moye. Sigite jina mi wele mongo sobongoye. Mama o sengala moye. Yete to malonga na masawa moye. Yete to mamonya yo munamye.
Special greetings to young Cameroonian filmmaker Kang Quintus, who is listening to African Cocktail at this moment. And of course, I know Kang has something coming up which we are going to mention and of course exploit on this show. When the time comes, you'll be duly informed. African Cocktail coming to you from Africa Radio with Ernest Kanjo. Just listen to this one, then we'll be right back with you.
Sonika Jemo ya tutumo na moe mama mi wo Kablonya mi o nika Senu ke o nika Mwe kuna Nama walo sonika
A very inspirational piece there from West Africa. Is it Central Africa? Okay. Call it West Africa, call it Central Africa, but I know Cameroon is situated between the West and Central Africa. Whatever the case, the music is as inspirational as the gentleman we're having as main guest in this edition of the show. His name is Stanley Fongod. Stanley, I'm coming back to you. Stanley, just tell me, how can the impact of inspirational speaking be measured? Is it scientific?
Well, it is, as a matter of fact, in its methodology. I think if you're looking at that from that light, then it's quite scientific. I think that the best way to be able to measure what your work has accomplished in the life of anyone is the testimonials. When you walk over into a particular company and probably 3 years later or 2 years later, productivity is up, and then, what they could not achieve in terms of sales and production, they are meeting their goals. That is important. Or for you to walk over into high school, like a couple of months ago, I had an opportunity to be speaking at a high school here in Columbus, Ohio, Afrocentric high school. And, a couple of months later, I met some of these kids and they say, thank you. Thank you for the talk. Thank you because you inspired me. Thank you for causing me to see more about myself than I could ever have dreamt. That, in essence, my name featuring in their testimonials, that's what the pleasure comes, and that's what makes it worthwhile.
Stanley, I've been in conferences where people sleep while the speaker is doing his show, and some people complain that when it gets too long, it becomes boring. It could also be because what they are saying doesn't really have an effect in the people listening. But then, is there any clear-cut length of a talk which a motivational speaker should present?
Well, it depends on, I think this has a lot to do also with the audience that you have. You can have a cutting edge speed on stocks and all of that, and you're talking to a bunch of 2 years old. Are you kidding? And then, 2 minutes later, they're going to be telling you, you know what, man, look, how long will this speech take? I mean, why? Because we got stuff to do. We want to play, want to watch the TV. Can we get some popsicle, pizza, whatever? But the truth of the matter is that, any speech, you must be able, I think one of the greatest, I've forgotten what his name is, give this as an illustration, that it must be short enough. It must be like a girl in a miniskirt. It must be short enough to arouse, attention, and just long enough to be able to cover off the subject. So I think that in essence, that's exactly what a good motivational speech should look like.
On the other hand, does it really matter the length of your presentation? what matters is what you're saying and the manner in which you are saying it?
Well, you have three factors. Number one, the length really matters. The audience you're speaking to also matters, and the content of the speech that you're giving as well really matters as well. So you have to be able to work within those three parameters. Otherwise, you will fall, or you overdo it or underdo it.
So for how long have you been doing this, Stanley?
Since 2004.
2004. That's 10 years now.
Yes.
Wow. And so, what motivated you to get into, I call it an art, I call it an art. So what pushed you to get into motivational speaking?
I remember I just finished from high school. This will be, I think, 2006 or so. I'm driving with my brother in Douala, and we're in the car with him, and the question that I was asked was, what would you want to do with your life? I said, I thought I wanted to be an aeronautics engineer. He looked at me, he laughed at me in ways I would never forget. And the whole essence why he was laughing was because I didn't have the qualifications in terms of the papers I'd passed at the advanced level, that will qualify me to be an aeronautics engineer. It was a passion within me, to go into aeronautics, to go into something scientific. I thought that that's all I was born to do. But here am I, I was just basically talked down, beat up. And in 2003, I'm sitting somewhere else listening to Les Brown. And Les Brown, one of my greatest mentors, is giving this speech, and he's talking about the fact that if you want something bad enough, you must go for it. And then there I promised myself I will tell any young man I meet, wherever I meet them, I don't care how young or how old they are, that they can become all that God has destined them to be. And that, for me, that's where it all began.
Which is diametrically opposite to what your uncle said, who laughed at you and thought you didn't have what it takes to become an aeronautics engineer. What can you say about people who would vehemently discourage you from pursuing your dreams and succeeding?
I think it is Frank Sinatra who paints it where it says the best way to revenge is to have a massive success. If you are massively successful, that's all that means. May you shut up a whole lot of people even before they began talking.
Stanley, imagine that you've moved from place to place giving talks. Which are some of these platforms you have been on so far?
Schools, churches, conventions, and talking to companies and whatnot. Those are the platforms I've been speaking on.
And you've definitely moved from one country to the other.
Yes, I've done most talks in Cameroon. I've done a whole lot of satellite talks via radio, and video conferencing in Central South America, as United States and stuff.
And so, who are some of the kind of people you meet and talk to? Whites, blacks, Africans?
Well, you see, I've actually done a whole lot of talk with Africans, and it's been quite interesting. I love a whole lot of white folks, but most of my motivational talk with them, it's pretty much quite standard. But the most challenging for me is actually talking to an African, because frankly speaking, they have a mindset that is made up, and you need to come with everything that God has given you to be able to unplug that mindset that they have.
Why do you think this is a problem, or where is this problem coming from?
I think
Africans have a particular problem because there are a lot of complaints about Africans. Looks like their own minds are different. Where is it coming from?
I think that it has a lot to do with the fact that we have grown up in a particular society environment that says that we can go above a certain level, we can do this, we can do that. For example, in Cameroon, I grew up in Cameroon back in the 80s, and all I heard was economic crisis. So all my life, there's never been one period of prosperity. I came to America when you thought things were going to get better. Here comes the 2008 economic collapse. And so throughout all my adult life, no one has ever said to me that this is a time of plenty. But I keep seeing people making millions, and I keep seeing people living in shelters. So the truth of the matter is that it has everything to do with the philosophy. And if we can be able to change the mindset, the minds of the people, the ones we are talking to, they say, you know what, all of this has been a lie. This has all been designed by you to keep yourself down, not by you not to become all that you're supposed to be.
But at times, Stanley, I think the problem is because people look around and they don't really see what can lure them to say it's going to be better. Take, for instance, an African who lives on less than $1 a day why would that African say it's going to be better someday?
Because of the same philosophy. That's what I'm saying. Okay, now, for example, Cameroon, the largest employer in Cameroon is the the Cameroon government.
Right.
That's the largest employer. Any other economy that will operate like that is worse than any socialist society. And the truth of the matter is that once the private sector is not flourishing, then the whole entire economy falls into dumps. So if we can improve the private sector, and the only way to improve the private sector is to put people to work. And how do we put them to work? Is to be able to let people go into self-reliance projects. There are folks in Cameroon with brilliant ideas, brilliant minds, doing fantastic stuff. That's what we need, not a bunch of guys, we spit them out of Boy University or Yale University. The government is trying to hire them, and we are pushing the government to hire them, but somebody has to pay them.
Somebody has to pay them. Okay, Stanley, I'll be right back with you. Time for us to move to Maryland, where we'll have our next guest in this edition of African Cocktail.
Le plus gros problème de nous les pauvres, c'est qu'on ne sait pas qu'on a trop de problèmes.
Okay, that one is titled Pauvreté. It's by Espoir Demil. We've moved from Central Africa to West Africa, precisely in Ivory Coast. So in the next couple of minutes, we're going to have some good pieces of Ivorian music. But then, before then, we are going to take a stop over in Maryland, where we have our next guest, who is a Cameroonian gospel artist who has released her maiden single. Her name is Lady Bay. Okay, before we get Lady Bay, I enjoy you to listen to this.
Coursing through my veins, you make me glow brighter than the sun. Holy Lamb, your love captured my heart and gave me hope of the day to meet with you. You are my source, my life, my strength. In thee I find my confidence. I love to bask in your presence. Let me hide myself in you. Your glory is my source of power. I'm fully submerged in your great waters. All else aside, my heart's inside to be with you. I'm in love with you, Lord. I'm in love with you, Lord. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're the wind beneath my wings, shelter from the rain.
And that one is titled I'm in Love. It's less than 72 hours old in circulation, and the artist is Lady Bay.
Love, yeah. You're the wind beneath my wings, shelter from the rain. Breath of life coursing through my veins. You make me glow brighter than the sun. Yeah.
The voice is soul searching, it is captivating, and when you listen to this, I know you have something to write home about. Beautiful music coming to you from African Cocktail. I'm in Love, Lady Bay.
Confidence, I love to bask in your presence. Let me hide myself in you. Your glory is my source of power. I'm fully submerged in your great water. All else aside, my heart's inside to be with you. I'm in love with you. Yeah, I'm in love with you, Lord. Yeah, you're the wind beneath my wings, shelter from the rain. I'm in love with you, Lord. I love you. I'm in love with you, Lord. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm in Love, a beautiful one day, and a production of Yomi Omidiran. Hey. African Cocktail coming to you from Africa Radio with Ernest Kanjo. Just right ahead, we shall be talking to the author of this very beautiful piece.
I'm in love with you, I'm in love with you. You're the wind beneath my wings,
And when you have Grace Folu, another gospel artist par excellence, doing the background vocals, then the result is a perfect piece of job, like the one you're listening to. I'm in love. Lady Bay will be right here to tell us about this beautiful project, which is less than 72 hours old in circulation, like have said throughout this edition of African Cocktail.
Always on my mind, always on my heart. Takes me everywhere I go. I'm in love with you. Love with you. Yeah. Jesus, my Lord. Yeah. Oh, I'm in love with you. Yeah. Jesus, my Lord. I'm in love with everything about you, Lord.
Okay, I'm in love with you, Lord. Beautiful one there, titled I'm in Love by Lady Bay. And at exactly 29 minutes to 1, time for us to move to Maryland and get the author of this song live to tell us about this very beautiful piece she has presented to the world. Lady Bay, you're welcome to the 57th episode of African Cocktail.
Hello everyone, I'm so happy to be on there.
So how are you today?
I'm doing very well. I'm very happy about the song and I'm excited to do this interview.
Lady B, this song has been running for the past couple of minutes, and believe me, my main guest has been nodding his head all the time, and he told me behind the scenes that this sounds really, really fantastic, and it doesn't sound Cameroonian. And some people have the impression, I was talking to someone yesterday when we listened to this song, that this is African-American styled gospel music. Do you have that impression as well?
Well, you could say that a lot of my influence is African as well as a bit of American. I've been in America for about 16 years, so I definitely get where they're hearing that from. But then again, I know that my style is quite a mix of different styles as well as, you know. Right. You have gospel, you have African American, you have African, you have even Asian. I mean, it's just a mix of a lot of different things.
So this single was dropped on Monday. It's just a couple of hours old in circulation. How are people reacting to it so far?
So people are really loving I'm in Love. So far the reaction has been great and very encouraging. I mean, this work has been long anticipated from a lot of my friends and family. So I got overwhelming support and feedback.
And I would imagine that you have some special feelings because this is your maiden single and people are loving it this way. Could you just describe the kind of special feelings you have, Bay?
Yes, sure. So I'm very excited finally to this. I mean, I would summarize my feelings in 2 words: overwhelmed and humbled. So releasing this song to the public can be releasing a song in general by any artist can be a daunting task. And so it's a new level of vulnerability that is just different from singing on stage or doing background vocals for other artists. So, I mean, I'm humbled to see the love and encouragement, and I look forward to making a mark in the world by showing my love for Christ.
Now, the track is so melodiously beautiful, just as the title of it, I'm in Love. This sounds so strong, and anybody getting it would definitely want to know what is embedded in this song. So what is the message in it?
I mean, this song, to me, starting with this song was very important because this is like my open declaration of my love for Jesus Christ. I mean, I've been through so many things in my life, and still I found the grace, or I have found the grace to enjoy each day. And I know that can only be through the love that God has shown me. So naturally, you know, I've grown to love Him more than anything else in the world, and I just wanted to show that with the song.
So, for how long have you worked on this project to have it produced, and who are some of the people who contributed artistically and technically?
Okay, so this project took several months to complete, which is kind of is a bit different from what a lot of artists normally do in. Right. Yes. So, I mean, the way I saw it is this is my first work that anybody would ever hear of me. So I really wanted it to represent my style, which as I said earlier, is very different from other African artists that we hear. So I wanted the song to be digestible to the general public. So, I brought along a great friend of mine. Her name is Jaquay Smith. I mean, we've worked together in the African-American music scene for years. And she has a completely different style from me as well. So I thought she'd be a great person to bring along. And we just sat down and brainstormed with Mr. Yomi Omidiran, my producer. And once we were set on the path for the song. I mean, this is what we came out with, what you're hearing now.
It is definitely a digestible one, Bay. When you listen to it, the sound quality is superb. The voice is captivating. I mean, you can give this piece all the qualities you can. And I would imagine that to put up such a brilliant product requires a lot in terms of resources, financial, human resource, material. So could you just tell us, what did it take for you to get all of this done?
Well, I mean, all of those areas, yes, it required those different levels of resources. I mean, the project took a lot of time, which, of course, it requires financial resources. I mean, in general, time is money. But I would still say it was a worthwhile investment that I definitely do not regret. And I thank God for providing me with the resources to do this project.
Right. And apart from social media, what other forms are you going to get this album? CDs?
Okay, so I'm in Love is like my gift to the public. So what I did is I made it available for free.
Right.
So you can easily access the song on YouTube.com, or you can go straight to SoundCloud.com and download it. I mean, the link is SoundCloud.com/LadyBay/am-in-love.
Right. So, tell us, for how long have you been in music? I know this is your first official album, but I know in the background you've been singing. And what motivated you to get into gospel?
Okay, so this is an interesting story. So I've been singing and writing music for about 10 years. Initially, I got into the music scene, not the music scene. I started getting more interested in music as a teenager because I was trying to work through a lot of my pain and heal from a lot of tough times I had. So I joined my high school gospel choir, and there I met my choir director, Mr. Ned Lewis, who invested so much into my life. I mean, he trained me as a musician first, then a singer, and then he mentored me as a spiritual father in Christ. And so over time, my craft just improved, and I grew to the point where I just wanted to encourage others in music the same way as I was encouraged.
That's beautiful. So, Bay, you have just kicked off with this single. Do you have a full-length album in mind? If so, when do we expect it?
So for now, I'm working on another single. I hope to put out maybe one or two more singles before I work on a full album. But hopefully, I'll be able to get out a full album by mid to late 2015. That's the.
I guess you are new in the industry as far as professional gospel music is concerned, but apparently you have been observing the landscape in the background. Bay, what do you make of the Cameroonian gospel music industry?
So, first of all, I will say I completely appreciate the gospel music scene of Cameroon. I believe it served a great part of my foundation, who I am as Lady Bay, as a person and as a musician. But I still feel that we are yet to catch the ears of a generation of listeners that naturally gravitate to a more urban feel of gospel music. And I mean that from the idea of an African perspective and generally in the music scene around the world. I mean, we've seen artists like Mali Music, who is from America, or Israel Houghton. These are people who decided to do something different that broke through the mold of their genre. And so that's why they were well received eventually. And even now, you can see in the African music scene, you have other artists like Frank Edwards from Nigeria or Sonny Badu from Ghana. I mean, these two guys are examples of artists who have been able to stand out in the African gospel music scene because they dared to do something different from the norm, or somehow something that is a blend of their roots. So I feel like the Cameroonian gospel music needs more of that. And hopefully, I've been able to see, artists that have been stepping up to do things like this, and I hope to see more of that.
Now, staying on that, Lady Bay, for the past 15 years you've been in the U.S., a lot has been happening within the Nigerian gospel music landscape. And I must say that the Nigerian-styled gospel music has swept across Cameroon like nothing ever did so. What is your take on the Nigerian gospel music scene?
I'm totally impressed by it. And it's not to talk down the Cameroonian music scene, because I do think we are making attempts and we're making strides. Now, looking from the gospel perspective, I feel like, we can do even more. I think the fact that the Nigerian music gospel music is so easily accepted in the Cameroonian scene is because our fellow Cameroonians, they're looking for music that is modern, that is going to, it will catch your ear, but of course still has the content that the feel that it touches your heart, it still reaches you. You can feel the presence of God in it. But at the same time, it's modern, it's hip, it's something that even young people can listen to and naturally gravitate to. I think that's what we really, really need now in the Cameroonian gospel music scene.
Okay, Bay, we want to thank you so much for stopping by and talking to us. Before you go away, there are definitely some young African girls out there who want to make great strides in gospel music as well. And they would also like to probably get in touch with you for advice, if not working with you directly. So how can they reach you?
Okay, so you can definitely get in touch with me on my Facebook page. You can look up Bay Achu, or you can look up Lady Bay. You'll still find me on Facebook. Or I can be emailed at ladybay09@gmail.com. And anybody is welcome, and you're welcome to contact me if you have questions, or even just, if you want to make requests, I'd be happy to be of service.
Okay, Bay, Lady Bay, thank you so much for being part of this edition of African Cocktail. And of course, thank you so much for making the Cameroonian gospel music scene one single reacher. Thank you, and have a blessed Wednesday out there in Maryland. Okay, this is African Cocktail coming to you from Africa Radio with Ernest Kanjo, Stanley Fongod as main guest, and of course MJ Raw. MJ Raw, could you approach the microphone? Let your voice be heard in this edition of the show. So, how has it been? You've been missing since people went to Brazil for the World Cup.
Yeah, I've been missing for a while. Well, I'm back again. It's time to kick up running again, and hopefully we get to have a good show. Okay, definitely we'll have a good show, and we hope that our friends just joining us are enjoying this edition of African Cocktail coming to you from Africa Radio. Okay, we'll be right back.
Are you looking for a one-stop shop with a friendly and caring service in the community? Then A&G Commerce is the place to be. Hi, this is Golda. I want to invite you to visit A&G Commerce Limited. We provide money transfer services, bill payment, money orders, and phone minutes. We also carry phones, 220-volt appliances, televisions for Africa, African groceries, beauty products, and many more. Our address is 5775 Cleveland Avenue. Our phone number is 614-437-9776. We're open from Monday to Saturday, 9 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. We're closed on Sundays. A&G Commerce, the place to be. A&G Commerce, we're here for you.
Y'a pas l'âme dans le pays depuis longtemps pour changer notre condition. Malheureusement, c'est nous on fait pitié. Ça va pas mais on n'a pas pitié de nous-mêmes. On dit pauvre à tort, on a remarqué c'est toujours pauvre qui souffre. Mais attention, on n'est jamais pauvre par hasard. Quoi qu'on fasse, jamais de fumée sans feu.
Jamais de fumer sans fin. The Ivorians who talk more than they sing, eh? Okay, this is African Cocktail coming to you from Africa Radio. At exactly 1:15, we shall be moving to Germany for our next guest. And like I said earlier on in the show, there is an upcoming TV series that is making big news out there in Germany. Scores of young African actors are showing interest in taking part in this TV series, which will be produced by Cameroonian named Westlake Nance. And we are going to receive him on this show to tell us what this whole project is all about. Okay, let's find out if Westlake Nance is already on the line to Essen, the western region of Germany. If you are with us, Westlake, you're welcome to the 57th episode of African Cocktail.
Thank you very much. Hello to everybody. Hello.
So, how is Essen this Wednesday evening?
Yeah, very good. Everything is okay.
Right.
And how about you?
I'm all right. We thank God. So, you are currently bracing to commence with the first phase of production of a much talked about TV series titled Naya. Am I right? Is it Naya?
That's right. That's Naya. It's in German.
Oh, in German. So,
Yeah.
what is Naya all about?
Naya is about, is a mirror of the life of young African people living in Germany. It's a TV show takes the viewer into the daily life of three Cameroonian students living in Germany. So we try to give the African community the opportunity to tell the world their own story.
So who is the author of this story, and what motivated them to write the script?
The author are really the public, the public, and I think their life, the life experience will motivate them to write their own stories. We try to make the public, the own author of this story.
So these are Cameroonians living in Germany?
Yeah, the Cameroonian young living in Germany. That's it.
So if I may ask, what is so particular about the lives of Cameroonians in Germany? Is it something we can say is generally positive or negative? Because if you are going in to do a TV series just to describe the life of Cameroonians living in Germany, it means that there is something in the air.
Yeah, the Cameroonian young people in Germany are dynamic people, so they have a lot of success, and we're trying to show the success to the world, But the young guys here in Germany, they got talent, there are too many doctors, too many businessmen, and we're trying to, do the story to show them to the world.
That's definitely the positive side of it, but I would naturally imagine that there are other Cameroonians in Germany who are not finding the experience really pleasant. Are you also going to showcase this in the TV series you are about to produce?
Yeah, definitely. Like a mirror, we're trying to show the both side of, the both side of the life, of Cameroonian students here. So we are not just talking about students, but all Cameroonian people, all African people, the problem, they have in their life and how they struggle to come out,
Right. So it's definitely going to be an interesting one. How many episodes do you intend to shoot?
We plan to shoot 100 episodes. That means the project will go last 4 years. It's a long-term project,
I didn't get that, Westlake. How many episodes?
100 episodes.
100 episodes?
100, yeah.
Now, which means that if it's going to run on television, it will be something like 1.5 years.
Yeah, it's
close to 2 years.
It will go last 4 years. We plan to run 2 episodes per month, so it will take something like 4 years.
This is definitely going to be a big project, and I will just go ahead to find out if you have the financial, material, and human resources to be able to put all of this together. We're talking about a very huge production.
Yeah. Come again with the question.
Yes, I was trying to find out how prepared are you to face this Herculean task, because I would imagine that to put 100 episodes on TV is not chocolate, it's not biscuits.
Yes, we already have the basic, the basic results with us now, and we count on the public support, to help us to make this project come true.
Right. Westlake, I understand you have kicked off with a first phase of production with auditioning, and you have pre-selected some actors already. Why did you choose to do the exercise online, and could you explain how this auditioning works?
Yeah, the way is we choose to do it online because we want that the people show us, their love for the comedy first, and the motivation too, to be an actor, because we're trying to form some professional actor, and we want to create some interaction with our public, because we are interaction series, but we try to be an interaction series, and that's why we ask to the candidate to post it online.
Right. So who can audition for these projects? I know it could be a Cameroonian story, but are we going to have just Cameroonians featured in the project? Who can audition?
Everybody can audition in this project, because like in real life, when you live in Germany or other countries in the world, you live in a community where you have interaction with people from other countries, So Naya want to be an international series, but from a Cameroonian point of view.
So I also understand that you are getting set to have this first phase of the exercise done. What do you want to get from interested actors vis-a-vis the roles and characters they have to play in this series? What is it that you're looking for? Is it the physical looks, how they talk, how they gesticulate when on set? What is it exactly that you're looking for?
So we want to run a natural series. So the actor just have to be natural. We just want people who are loved for comedy, who are motivated. They should be part of the African dream, and they should get the talent we want to show to the world. And that's it.
So how many actors have you pre-selected so far, and how would you assess their performance, at least as a first impression?
Actually, we already pre-select more than 30 people coming from different countries, like Germany, Kenya, Belgium, France, and US, for example, too. And the people just have to present themselves, just tell us more about them, what they want, what motivates themselves to be, part of the series,
Okay, so when precisely do you start filming? And are you going to have the scenes shot only in Germany?
We will start filming in summer of next year.
Summer of next year.
Time we will turn in, only in Germany. And then with the time we will see how we can turn the movie in Cameroon, why not in US too,
So tell us about the technical crew that will be taking part in this project. Who will be directing it? And just go ahead and tell us who will be directing this project.
Okay, the public is gonna direct this project. With help from Samuel Lowe, he's a filmmaker too. Live in Germany. And we got a guy from Switzerland. His name is Ernest Kanjo from the film An African Bear.
Right.
And this guy was going to direct the series.
Now, Wesley, concretely, how is this series going to be different from the multitudes of TV series we watch on African television?
Yes, like I say, it will be different because Naya TV will be a kind of interaction with the public. So the public will make the series by paying the actor, the writer, the sponsor, and the spectators. That's how it will be different from the others,
Right.
because we give the opportunity to the public, to tell about our life.
So briefly, who are the people you're partnering with?
So now we are partner with Challenge Cameroon, for example. We have some festival like African Festival of Tübingen, African Festival in Ludwigshafen, and some publics. We have some public sponsors, and I cannot say the name now.
Right. So when do we expect to start watching this stuff on TV? We are quite anxious. We are excited.
Yeah, now it's going to be released end of the next year, and first, on our platform naya-tv.com. Before we're going to run it online.
Right. Okay, Wesley, thank you so much for joining us in this edition of African Cocktail to talk about the upcoming series. Quickly, before you go away, could you remind us of how interested actors can get to this project? What are your links? What are your contacts?
Okay, well, the pleasure. Just have to contact us via Facebook, our Facebook page, Terry TV Naya, or via email, nayaterry@gmail.com. Naya is NAGASERIE@gmail.com, and you can write us and send us your video if you want to participate to the project.
Wesley, you know what I'm going to tell you? Dankeschön.
You're welcome, sir.
Okay, do have a fantastic day out there in SN, and we hope to have you again some other time on this show. Okay, this is African Cocktail coming to you from Africa Radio at exactly 3 minutes to 1. We are still running the show, and we expect to have the cables of Ifana Kuala calling us from Douala, Cameroon, and updating us on the happenings in the Central African sub-region. Just in this edition of African Cocktail, so to hear from our Cameroon correspondent. Okay, so let's get back to Stanley. Stanley, once again, you're welcome.
Thank you.
So, Stanley, we've been talking about motivational speaking since we started this edition of African Cocktail. And let me find out from you, what have some of your most regular topics been, so far? What have you been talking about? What are some of the most popular topics you have treated so far with the people you talk to?
I have had some very fantastic and very creative topics. I've talked on something called From Beyond the Cosmos, Bond with a Triumph, Beyond Limitations, 24, Shine Like a Diamond, Diamond in the Rough, and many other titles.
Shine Like a Diamond. So you mean that the human being can shine like a diamond? That is very figurative, but it has a lot of meaning, which means that if a human being can shine like a diamond, it means we can do the extraordinary.
Absolutely. I think that if any of us had any idea exactly what a diamond looks like before it gets cut, then you understand what I'm talking about. If you see a diamond in its original form, you will either skip, pick it, throw it. You will never know what you're holding. Right. But once a diamond is cut, then its brightness comes out. It becomes extremely valuable. But it's still valuable even though it's not yet cut, but it needs a trained eye to be able to identify its greatness.
Just like any book author who would be caught reading a particular book at every given moment, or any musician who would love listening to one of his pieces all the time, you would definitely have one of those topics you think is one that actually had the greatest impact, and you would always love to remember it.
Yeah.
Which one is that?
And for me, it's From Beyond the Cosmos, Born with a Triumph. I always believe that each and every one of us, we came outside of the cosmos. We came into this dimension with unique gifts, and we came here with certain abilities to be able to push, motivate, and inspire others. I believe that we were born for a reason. I don't just believe that every life is average. Life is sacred. And frankly speaking, I do believe that you need to also exit out of this life empty. There are many of us that would die die and go into our graves with so much dreams and so much revolution. It is Miles Monroe who says that the richest place in the world is not the oil fields of Saudi Arabia, it is not the diamond fields of South Africa, nor the mines, the gold mines of South America. The richest place on planet Earth is the graveyard. And I tell you the honest truth, if you go to the graveyard today, you will find dreams where we never fulfill, songs that were never sung, paintings that were never painted, businesses that were never started, because people died with so much within them. And I hope that somehow, everyone should be able to understand that you can actually fulfill your dreams and fulfill your desires and die empty. That's more honorable.
Right. So when you presented this talk, what was the reaction? How were people reacting to it? And at the end of the day, what were they telling you?
Well, I think that it was a standing ovation. People started and they were clapping, not for me. They were clapping because for the first time they were looking at the mirror of their conscience. Right. They saw themselves for the first time the way they really are. And it's a wonderful revelation for you to discover who you are from within, not without.
Stanley, I may not be an inspirational speaker like you, but I've had the opportunity to be invited to speak at many instances, especially to young people in my days back in Cameroon. And each time I spoke, there were young people who really felt inspired. And I can remember this particular talk, which actually moved one of them dragged one of them in tears, and she got up and spoke so emotionally, and she said something that also drove me into emotions. She said, I've been an inspiration to her, and that if she was what she was at the time, she was saying that it was thanks to me, and I felt really emotional about that. Have you had such experiences where you talk and people cry? People get drowned in the stupor of what you're saying to an extent where you feel as if, no, you had better not been here.
No, I think that in other words, it's, to me, that's the reason why I came. That's the reason why I do it. I have had those encounters as well. And as I go on speaking, you'll find someone who gets so emotional because for the first time they're seeing themselves the way God sees them. They're seeing themselves the way they're really supposed to be. And they're looking at all these wasted years and they're asking themselves, how long would it have taken for them to come to this truth and to this knowledge? And then for me, in that particular moment, that's what really matters. They might cry, but the truth of the matter is I'm trying. The seed has been sown, and so it is the desire for them to become all that they really can be. And I wish and I pray each time I leave them that I hear their testimonials later, because someone can cry and yet there's no change. But once they start tear, which basically tells you that an emotion has been stirred within, and then suddenly you begin to see them sometimes down the line, 2 years later, 3 years later, becoming all that they promised themselves they were going to become. That, my friend, is what makes life worth living.
Stanley, I watched one of your videos dubbed the blueprints of
the blueprint for success.
Success, in which you summarily tell your audience that they are automatically successful if they rise, distinguish themselves, and contribute in a unique way their own quarter on the platform called Earth. You sound so optimistic in this video, whereas we understand that the continent from where you hail is plagued by a lot of socio-economic and political crises. Do you really think that with this in mind, people can still have the zeal to succeed? I keep coming back to this question because I think it's important to really know if this can really work on an African mind.
Absolutely. I think that the greatest place that you can find most of the greatest inspiration is on the African continent. If you look at us as a continent, what we have been through and what we have overcome so far, 7 out of the 10 emerging markets is actually in sub-Saharan Africa. Can you imagine that? Whoever would have believed that 10 years ago? And the truth of the matter is we have overcome so much. We have been through so much. And frankly speaking, when you look at the African continent with all of our rich natural resources, plush lands, and all these beautiful geographical features that we do have, there is nothing else that can limit anybody else, and there's nowhere else to go but up. Believe me, we're down, and the other way is up. I believe so much about Les Brown, who says if life knocks you down, you need to fall with your back to the ground, because if you can look up, then you can get up. And I believe, honestly speaking, we are looking up and we are getting up.
If you look up, you can definitely get up. Stanley Fongod is an inspirational speaker, and of course, he is the main guest in this edition of African Cocktail. We'll be right back with him. Time for us to move to Cameroon, the banks of the River Wuri. We're in Douala, where our reporter will be telling us what has been going on out there. But then, before she comes on, listen to this.
Les quelques poignées de haricots que j'ai eu la chance de partager avec Ahmed et Jones. Yo Pugoka, 500 bar. Le silence n'est pas un oubli. Avec dignité, on a poigné du doigt mon petit Mosesso. Kanjo, bénis-moi, bénis-moi, bénis-moi dans le nom du Seigneur. Bénis-moi.
Benimoa, Sumbil, beautiful piece there coming to you from West Africa, precisely the great nation of Ivory Coast. And so, African Food Warehouse, best African food at lowest price. Best African food at lowest price. All of us want to eat African food here in the United States of America, but then we want it to be cheap as well because it's getting really, really expensive. But then, at Africa Food or African Food Warehouse, the prices are quite affordable, cheap. So you can have meat, fish, yam, plantains, beans, bread, and many more. So special operating hours, 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. every day. You can get to African Food Warehouse at the address 4376 Carl Road. Call CC at 614-447-9001. 614-447-9001. So you can get to 437 Carl Road and you will be in African Food Warehouse, where you can have all the best of African food here in the city of Columbus. So at African Food Warehouse, we simply say shop all day. At exactly 12 minutes past 1, time for us to move over to the banks of the River Wuri in Douala, Cameroon's economic capital, where our reporter Ifana Kwala has been sojourning the city and of course the entire West African region to pick up news for us this week. Ifana, good afternoon there and welcome to African Cocktail.
Good afternoon, Ernest and listeners of African Cocktail. Welcome to Central African sub-region and precisely in Cameroon. I am in the city of Douala at the banks of the famous River Wuri, where it has been a very, very rainy day. It's a wet day in Douala, yet a very beautiful day. And in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala, is something like 302 kilometers, which is 187.654 miles away from sea. Fou is a small locality in the outskirts of Yaoundé and it is situated 66 kilometers, which is 41 miles from the country's political capital. And it is in Fou that one of the most disturbing incidents, which will surely last long on the mind of indomitable Lions defender Nicolas Nkulu happened. The national team player's father was found dead in his car that had gone in flames last week. The cause of the incident is not yet known, but there are speculations the father of the Olympic of Nassau player might have been the victim of Cameroon's Christmas performance at the just ended World Cup that took place in Brazil. It is not yet clear if that could have been the motive for Nkulu's father's death, but some citizens have vehemently criticized certain acts which may badly cloud the image of the country. People people are saying that it is not worth it for a father of a player whose side failed to deliver to be killed in such an undignified manner. Even if football were to make Cameroon into a paradise, they say it is simply barbaric and that the culprits, whenever they are known, should not go unpunished. Investigations to determine the cause of this incident are going on, and the people are anxiously waiting for the result. Whatever the reason might be, it is tragic, and we hope such an incident does not happen again, especially in the land known for its enviable peace. Ernest Kanjo.
Cameroon and its enviable peace would definitely not let doors open for such unruly behaviors, Ifana, and we hope that such incidents will not occur again. Quite a gloomy one there, but all has not been cloudy out there, and I understand there is some good news within the Actors Guild of Cameroon, who have had another opportunity to add to what they already know, Ifana. So what is happening within the Actors Guild of Cameroon?
Yes, and some observers are now saying that in very equivocal terms that Cameroon needs to start dismissing the habit of paying more attention to football at the expense of other sectors that have talented people. The movie sector has been cited repeatedly for being a fertile area in this current wave of talk. For quite some time now, there has been an immeasurable interest in movie making and acting displayed by all Cameroonians. Yet, you may like to know that scores of Cameroonians have flown in to swell the country's film industry within the last decade. They said, especially in quantity. Movies are being thrown into the market on a regular basis, with more and more people willing to get on board and showcase their acting skills. Despite this progress made in industry and the zeal to perform, actors still think the need to improve on their acts to meet higher standards, especially in the present context of stiff competition. This improvement cannot come in any other way except through training. Fortunately, they have acknowledged this. It is therefore to make their work more competitive and appealing that movie actors under the banner of the National Actors Guild of Cameroon, that goes by the acronym NACAM, recently committed themselves and satisfactorily attended a workshop that took place in Boya, regional headquarters of the Southwest region of Cameroon. Organized in collaboration with Prince Movies, a Nigerian film production house, participants were recited in acting but furnished with knowledge to related areas, which facilitators insisted went hand in glove with their acts. Such disciplines included camera operation, directing and producing. Participants at the 3-day workshop left satisfied with the knowledge acquired and wished for more of such trainings. The Hotel Resident Carlos Actors Workshop was facilitated by Nollywood Prince Onyebuni and Jean-Pierre Lambert, a Paris and Boya-based scriptwriter, and was chaired by the Southwest Regional Delegate of Culture. The Boya training comes after a few other trainings the Cameroonian film industry has organized so far, including one that took place at the American Embassy in Cameroon in 2012 and co-organized by the US-based actress and writer Sandra Fondufe and Tenjo Baba of Tenjo Entertainment. The German Cultural Center, otherwise called the Gowas Institute in Yaoundé, is also known to have supported many film training initiatives in Cameroon. And as we can now say in Cameroon, the movie is moving.
Definitely the movie is moving, Ifana. And we learned that the Actors Workshop had facilitators who believed in learning by doing and also doing after learning, reason why they proceeded to a post-workshop auditioning for a new movie from classroom to location. That's a nice one then.
Yes, that's a nice one, exactly. And from classroom to location, as you said. Soon after they rounded up the training, the 40 or so participating actors were introduced to a new movie project. Auditioning for roles was done. Filming of the movie, whose title we have gathered as Fingerprints, will begin soon on location. We are going to confirm in subsequent correspondences. The movie, The African Cocktail, has been told will feature a Cameroonian mixed cast. Such mixed cast productions have been common in Cameroon, with movies such as Siri, A Contest Peace Offering, Before the Sunrise, The Blues Kingdom, Land of Shadows, all produced by Agbo Gilbert Ebot, directed by Akim Macaulay, Blood of Wine, directed by Neba Lawrence, and several others.
So I will also add Nebat Lawrence's Royal Exodus. Not Royal Exodus, but I think Royal Destiny. Okay. That film is produced by Aisha Inua, starring Nollywood's Emeka Ike Tonto Tike, Joyce Kalu, and of course Cameroon's Solange Chika and Muma Pascal. I would suspect that actors at the Boya workshop were also enjoined to be creative, and as creative as the frontline Cameroonian rapper Stanley Eno, whom we hear has sprung again with another gigantic one. This time he calls it Jama Jama Cow. Am I right?
Yeah, Iyo Cow, Jama Jama Cow, Yamamiko for Downbury for CWL Cow. I'm sure you should know that. And this was a song on every child lives in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, especially in English-speaking Cameroon. As creative as he is, as you said, Stanley Eno has dug into the archive and brought it back to rekindle sweet old memories of that epoch that this song has surely been knitted into contemporary rap genre to suit the taste of today's music lovers, yet tickling the minds of the old. That is what is to be found in the rapper's next single, which is already being announced and awaited with such appetite, not just in Cameroon, but in the entire Central African sub-region. Reactions have been streaming, with many people out there saluting the creativity of 2014 MTV Best Act Singer. It should be noted that Stanley's current single, Tumbu Boss Calabar, is also another regurgitating of an old-time infant theme. We shall come back with details of Njama Njama Cow probably in the next week's contribution from this end. And it is with Stanley Eno's Njama Njama Cow frenzy that we round up today's contribution from Central Africa and precisely Douala. Anything listeners of the show, for me, Cynthia Kwala Ifana, and all of Douala, we say see you next week and au revoir et bonne journée.
A beautiful one day, Ifana. Thank you so much for that sumptuous and handsome package from the Central African sub-region. And we hear in Jama Cow is going to be another great hit. Ifana, I just want to say au revoir et bonne journée. Have a fantastic Wednesday out there in Douala. And of course, we hope to have you again next week.
biara mputo gina enwumasia so saa na abofra biara die fapem na kan ko gina ntete pa ene enwumasia so ne santi na mekan for All Star Academy Learning Center amawo All Star Academy Learning Center wo achechefo a wo nimde yie wa abofra entity mu mechecha development na ba bia amofra esua de ba bia wodidie ba bia oda na wodi agode esewani ensa okachire All Star Academy Learning Center eje amofra efree na wotwinsia mechecha streets kopem enfie dumienu mechecha 12 years enti awfue fa obako All Star Academy Learning Center na onya nyina sopa na boa ne daachi All Star Academy Learning Center ebie Monday through to Friday 6 a.m. to 12 midnight Saturday 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. All Star Academy Learning Center betimi aboa mwanya abai emwa mechecha the 22 government assisted program South All Star Academy achira kwanya hwehwe 5992 Westerville Road Suite 1 Westerville Ohio 43081 5992 Westerville Road Suite 1 Westerville Ohio 43081 betimi afrem penny 4 614-899-0035 614-899-0035 All Star Academy Learning Center where every child becomes a star.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have good news for you as your nutrition specialist. I recommend you eat fresh farm produce that will give you and your family good health, energy, and vitality. I suggest you shop for all your family food products at A Life African Market. Yes, A Life African Market. They sell the best farm produce that will help you and your family live a healthy and energetic life. Shop for all your food products like fufu, yam, rice, meat, chicken, plantain, cassava, and many more. Located at 4384 Cleveland Avenue. Again, 4384 Cleveland Avenue. A life. Eat fresh, spend less.
Okay, eat fresh, but then spend less. It could be exciting to spend less, but then eat fresh. So, Quality Auto Services. Is your car problems giving you sleepless nights? Stop thinking about your car maintenance, oil change, tune-ups, tires, and many more. Cast your car burdens onto Quality Auto Services. Quality Auto Services provides full-time engine servicing, repairs and replacements, complete auto maintenance, oil change, tire change and rotations. Quality Auto Service is specialist in all cars. Bring your car to 5599 Westerville Road, Westerville, Ohio 43081. I take it again, 5599 Westerville Road, Westerville, Ohio 43081. Opens every day, Monday to Saturday, from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. So to get to Quality Auto Services, you simply have to press your fingers on 614-446-0773, or you just walk in, because walk-ins are accepted. So 614-446-0773, then you are at Quality Auto Services. There we simply say Quality Auto Services, you will smile. Okay, you will definitely smile with Quality Auto Services. Time for me to turn back to Stanley, the main guest in this edition of African Cocktail. Stanley, in your experience speaking to people along the years, what do you say, or what can you say you've realized as the biggest problem these people pose, and what do you think is the way these problems can be easily addressed?
I think that for me, it's always been understanding that humans as us, we actually are diamonds in the rough. When you see a diamond, a piece of diamond in the rough, frankly speaking, unpolished, uncut, that diamond is not appealing until it's cut and it is polished. Right. That talks of the potential, the ability that is in each and every one of us. So one of the things I've noticed with most people is this: they are sitting on the diamond mine, on the trove of information, wealth locked up within them, but without the capacity or the ability or the knowledge that they even have it, and then that they can actually become all that they're supposed to be. So for me, it's a matter of them becoming all that they can be by becoming polished, becoming cut, going through the cut process, which is quite uncomfortable to begin with. But if you can endure that cutting process, you can truly shine like a diamond.
Stanley, at times I'm tempted to describe you as a doctor speaking to patients. Now, when a doctor prescribes medication, he expects you to go back, take the medications, and you can only get well by doing that. So you, as an inspirational speaker, when you speak to people, you tell them what to do to be what you want them to become. How do you do a follow-up? How do you make sure this is implemented?
Because obviously there's a process. The truth of the matter is that there is a methodology that we use, which basically says this is what we're telling you to do, but we are only telling you to do this because this is what the follow-up will look like. And then if there is no follow-up, then you will never be able to evaluate how effective you have been able to help a particular company achieve higher sales, how effective you'll be able to help the human resource development in any company be able to hire the right people, motivate the right people. So there's a follow-up that we carry out, and this follow-up is how we evaluate how effective our speeches have been.
And have you ever had people coming back to tell you that we tried this and it worked, or we tried and it didn't?
As a matter of fact, it's quite no. Everyone who comes to say we tried this and it worked, and the reason is because most of the things I teach and what is it that I motivate others with are proven principles over the years. This is not just some cooked up stuff in some backyard somewhere.
You just wrote a book titled "The Untamed Passions of a Gifted Man." First, is it published?
Yeah.
So, what is the book all about?
What
motivated you to write it?
It's a story. I'm a little bit quite uncomfortable when I start talking about fiction or non-fiction. The truth of the matter is that there's some elements of truth in this book, and whatnot. And I talked about an untamed passions to begin with, and this is about a man who is so gifted, who has all the capacities to do better, who has all that there is for him to become successful, but he has certain passions that are completely untamed. And history catalogs a whole lot of men who had greatness within them but had untamed passions. Diego Maradona is one of them. Michael Jackson is another. another. People who were so gifted, but one element of their life basically became their undoing, and it's to that I wrote this book. But it's actually a novel speaking about this military guy comes from the war in Iraq, having great battles in Fallujah, but just to come and face some other ones on the south side of Los Angeles.
So, for how long have you worked on this project, and who assisted you in completing it?
Well, I did this book since 2013. I started working in 2010, but my uncle and brother mentor, Dr. Pascal Boumard, lecturer at the university, professor, PhD holder, he's the one who helped me in editing the book.
Let us go back to something you said about an undoing that can kind of uncompromise the life of a successful person. What do you think can be that thing which brings down someone who has been at the top of the social ladder in the speed of an instant?
There are three primary things which basically dominates most people's life: the drive for pleasure, and that the drive for pleasure and the drive for power. Those two things will basically become anybody's undoing. The drive for pleasure, we basically talk about maybe drugs, we talk about sex, and whatever stuff, but alcohol and all of that. But the truth of the matter is that if these things are not tamed, you look at someone like Mark Stanford, who was supposed to be the Republican nomination in 2008, I think. Great aspiration, great guy. He spoke right, he did everything else right, but ended up in some woman's house. I think it was Brazil, Argentina, wherever it was, and that became his own undoing. And you can go on and you name all these men, great talent, great abilities, but one thing becomes their undoing, and it is my responsibility to be able to help many to discover that you can be gifted, but that's not enough. There must be something called character.
That pushes me to this point where some observers have always held that successful people, especially artists, sportsmen, need people to guide them. They need managers to tell them what to do, because most of them derail, at times, and these kinds of compromises all what they've achieved. So do you think that these people must have people who work with them to direct them on what to do?
Yeah, well, you can have all the best managers in the world that you want, but the truth of the matter is, if you have no self-worth, it will be very difficult for you to be anything that you are. A manager is over the most often at times, this manager comes just to help you go through your mess without it going public. But the truth of the matter is, if you are all that you're supposed to be, you should be all that you're supposed to be, and you don't need anyone to monitor you to be all that you're supposed to be, and especially when it comes to your character and the way you present yourself in public. But if you have someone who is trying to manage you, that means the person's over there trying to hide your mess, trying to hide your untamed passions. That in essence defeats the purpose. I want you to be all that you can be, not because someone is monitoring you. It's like someone telling me I'm a Christian because I've been monitored. No, I'm a Christian because I'm a Christian. I'm not a Christian because I've been monitored.
Okay, thanks so much for that, Stanley. When we come back, we'll be running off this conversation. And like Stanley is saying, you don't necessarily need to be monitored to make it, which means that you can monitor yourself.
Absolutely, you're the first line of defense.
Okay, African Tele Review is up next. Let's have it. Then we'll run off our conversation with Stanley Fongod.
African Entertainment Television. African Tele Review brings you more on some of the most captivating African TV shows. African Tele Review, visualizing African television on the African cocktail.
In this second chapter of the slot, we take you to Cameroon, first to the country's national broadcaster, the Cameroon Radio and Television, CRTV, where Tam Tam Weekend has kept viewers glued to their TV set since the show was incepted in the mid-80s. Tam Tam Weekend is a 2-hour-long magazine show on the CRTV, and the live version of the show comes up every Sunday from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. GMT, which should be 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Affectionately called TTW, Tam Tam Weekend was conceived and created in early days of television in Cameroon in the mid-80s. Observers says it has stood the test of times, and perhaps because the concept remains appealing. Habitually hosted by two presenters, a male and a female, Tam Tam Weekend covers areas such as entertainment, education, business, etc. The show runs feature reports, some of them very promotional in nature, interviews and advert slots. On special episodes of the show, Tam Tam Weekend focuses on particular dossier or locality in the country. If the show is going for the second option, Tam Tam Weekend will present the geography of the locality, its history, administrative setup, economy, culture, tourism, potentials, and what have you. This approach has greatly contributed to sell the tourism image of Cameroon over the years. Tam Tam Weekend show usually runs with a main guest artist performing at interval live in the famous Studio 1 of the CRTV production center situated at the Bala 2 neighborhood in Cameroon's capital, Yaoundé.
This is Africa Radio.
Some of the renowned presenters of Tam Tam Weekend over the years have been Julius Wami, Veronique Monique Ma, Josephine Dango, Patrick Siane, Poli Diran, Rose Mbole Epi, Olivier Kinge, Fonge Gwen, Ghislaine Ebang, Ivo Paten, Benan Boma, just to name a few.
African Tele-Review, visualizing African television.
Okay, African Tele-Review, visualizing African TV shows on Africa Radio. So we bring TV to radio and we make it visible. Okay, Stanley, we just listened there to our African Tele-Review slot. It's a slot aimed at highlighting some of the stuff we watch on African television, and the presenter was just talking there about Tam Tam Weekend, which started in the early days of TV in Cameroon. Where were you at that time? TV came to Cameroon like 1985.
Yeah, I was in Cameroon. I remember when it came, it was one little tiny box. I remember, going to somebody's house and standing by the window to watch what was going on. I remember that so well.
You were quite excited, I can guess.
Are you kidding? We have never seen anything in my life like that. Yeah, obviously, I knew exactly when that stuff came up. By 6 o'clock, one gigantic clock would appear on the screen, and then we'll be watching that clock. The countdown will continue, and then the national anthem shows up, and then here comes the images.
Right, and believe me, everything we watch on TV was interesting. Everything.
Yeah, apart from Understand the Islam, which came on Thursday. That's the one that I didn't like because I didn't understand anything that was going on on Friday, rather.
It's not like today that people have become very selective because there's so much to pick from.
Man, we were grateful that there was anything to show. So it didn't matter. We watched anything that came up.
Okay, so Stanley, we are about to run off this conversation. Tell me what usually inspires you when you are preparing a presentation.
Everything inspires me. I think that, especially when it depends on who I'm going to talk to and the group. So I try to make sure that I find a message that's quite relevant to my crowd so that I can be able to get them better and motivate them better rather than just come in with something else that is quite generic.
And you should definitely be a reader of many books.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right. And so, who are some of the people you would always pay tribute to as far as this art of speaking to people is concerned?
First and foremost, big shout out to the great American foremost philosopher of all time. His Excellency, I call him Jim Ron. That's my biggest mentor. He passed on to be with the Lord in 2009. Then you have some people like Bob Proctor, Les Brown, Earl Nightingale, Napoleon Hill. I think you've heard about his famous book, Think and Grow Rich. I mean, great authors.
So off record, a couple of days back, you mentioned that you have plans of feeding the people of Columbus with some of these great ideas embedded in you. How do you intend to carry this out?
Schools, churches, we are looking for, wherever people are gathered that they want to listen in. I think that we should be able to get in those areas and be able to give them a point or two on becoming better. One of the things, though, especially with the church, I had a few conversations a few days ago about one pastor complaining about members that are not paying tithes. And I'm telling him that everybody is paying tithes. It's 10%. The truth matters that it's 10% of what? Somebody who doesn't have anything is paying 10% of zero, and 10% of zero is zero. So
that is quite complicated, Stanley.
Well,
it's quite complicated. Wow. Okay, we have time to come back to that anyway. So, how soon do we expect to have you organize conferences, seminars, and trainings?
We're looking at as early as by next month or so. I'm hoping that we can be able to settle something by next month.
Apart from motivational speaking, Stanley, what other skills do you have? What other skills do you explore?
Well, I'm an IT guy. I set up a whole bunch of systems. I'm a system integrator. Right. I'm an IT guy. I'm also into business. I own a bunch of them myself. And also, I have a studio in LA in PH1 Studios, and we do movies. And hopefully, one of my movies I'll be shooting in Cameroon very soon. So.
And so, when you are not speaking to people, what other things do you do?
Man, I'm playing basketball or I'm reading something. I'm a lover of history, and I think that beside my Bible, the American Constitution is my best, document. So I keep that close to my heart.
Are you saying that it is a masterpiece?
It is not just a masterpiece. Outside of the scriptures, that piece of documentation is the best ever written, period.
And would you recommend it to African countries, like to tap from it and develop theirs?
I have a book coming out where I am the president, the first emerging president of Africa, United States of Africa. And the backdrop of the Constitution I use is actually the United States Constitution.
Right. Stanley, one last question. Where do you see Africa in the next 10 years?
I'm very optimistic. I think that we have made so much strides so far, and I think that we are, on the verge of being the best that we can be. But the truth of the matter is that Africa's problems will have to be solved by Africans. And I think that it's about time for us to stop the influx of ideas and people coming to us from offshore. The salvation of our continent depends upon us, and the salvation of our continent will be solely in the hands of Africans.
But now some people hold that it is us, especially some of us who have traveled to the diaspora, who can contribute in solving these problems. Yet we have left those problems behind and we have traveled. So how do we expect these problems to get solved?
Well, I don't think you've been to Douala lately, because the amount of planes that is landing with those in diaspora returning home, it's amazing. So our children are coming back home.
Oh, Stanley, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
I'm quite convinced that you will settle on a bowl of Ngung Bo Sanja after this interview. It's been wonderful having you, and
Thank you.
You've been so instrumental. I hope that when next we invite you, you definitely make it.
Thank you.
Okay, his name is Stanley Fongod. Stanley Fongod is an inspirational speaker who has been with us in this 57th episode of the show. I must say thank you so much, Stanley, for your ingenuity, your foresightedness, and of course for being part of this edition of African Cocktail. And for those of you who listen to the program, we want to say thank you so much. And at this point in time, we are putting a full stop to this 57th episode of African Cocktail that came to you this day, Wednesday, July the 16th, 2014. It was a very big and dynamic team that kept you company on this show this day. African Cocktail kitchen manager Susanne A.A., Belgium correspondent Titus Banyo, Germany correspondent Maxwell Ajik, South Africa correspondent Solomon Atta, Central African correspondent Ifana Kwalar, African Tele Review, Crystal Beauty of the Crystal Beauty Show, resource person number 1, Kenneth Ngamne, resource person number 2, Suleiman Koyati, resource person number 3, Matthew Eyong, content critique, The White Bokore, production collaboration, Crystal Beauty, African Cocktail Promo Banner, Isaac Maxwell, Bo Boateng. Guests at large in this edition of the show, we had Lady Bay, we had Westlake Nance, and of course Hansel Ngwane, who spoke from Boya. Main guest Stanley Fongod. Collaboration in this edition of African Cocktail, Big Bo, Awal Mohammed, DJ Cash, Damilola, Jari, Mayo Makinde, Saran, and of course KK. Coordination Nana Ampem, Davis Apia. My name is Ernest Kanjo, regular host of the show. I will be back next Wednesday for yet another edition of African Cocktail. And until we meet next Wednesday, it is bye-bye, ciao, au revoir, merci, I'm gone, see you, and we say to God be the glory.